But I think the development of full artificial intelligence would spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
I don't know if it was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please! Please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? This is the show where we get together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and we talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. And we got a doozy for you tonight as we're streaming in all the right places. That would be, of course, YouTube, D-Live, Rockfin, and Twitter. And, of course, we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And, well, what is this all about? It's about all kinds of things. This show is about the right to be wrong. This show is about all of that stuff that we just mentioned. And, of course, this show is about you. It's about your reality. It's about the reality we live in and how, basically, it's a huge fight. Alex Jones infamously coined the phrase InfoWars when he created his show way back in the day. And I at the time, I've said this before, but at the time, I didn't think that it was a true thing. I was not paying enough attention to the media, the way they were lying and slandering and just outright spinning fake news on the daily. But turns out Alex Jones was right about a lot of things. And this show is not about Alex Jones, by the way, just kind of making a parallel here to reality and to not just the way the media represents your reality. It's how they want to brainwash you into believing a particular reality is the case. And so, well, as a result of that, that's kind of where Troubled Minds comes in. Because, well, reality doesn't have to be what they tell you, all right? What the powers that be, the elites or the technocrats or even the government or any of those folks, reality does not have to be what they tell you. It could be your own reality. And we've talked about manifesting a good future. We've talked about being not kind to yourself so you can be kind to others. We've talked about all kinds of things on this show, including, well, not flinging poo at each other on the internet. being able to have a conversation and disagree and still be friends at the end of it. Like, there's a whole lot here, right? And speaking of changing realities, right? Changing the paradigm of just the way the world is supposed to work, the way we're told it's supposed to work is, well, that's what this show's about. It's about all of that and more than that. It's about you. It's about me. It's about us. And well, that's what this show is, and that's what we do. And as a result of that, we have pretty amazing conversations here. And as you know, we do this live. I have no inside sources, like I say, just you guys, just us, just this community, just what's happening, and people sharing great ideas. And as Jay says, shout out to Jay in New York, a fantastic show after fantastic show. And well, it's just because of conversations. It's because of you. It's because this show goes two ways. It's not just me discussing pretty wacky stuff, which I do sometimes. Sometimes we talk about more 2 feet on the ground sort of situation. But tonight we're taking both feet off the ground, and we're going to slam some maybe juice, and we're gonna bathe in it. Even we're going to bathe in the maybe juice tonight, because there's a lot here. There's a fantastic idea that was submitted. Speaking of amazing folks, there's a ton of links that went into Discord today, and I'll get to Discord in a second. But lots of folks putting some amazing ideas and thoughts up there, and I had to choose between like 20 fantastic show ideas tonight, and was like, well, I narrowed it down to a few, and consulted my partner in crime here in the house, and she said, well, how about the Space Octopus? And I was like, hell yeah. All right, let's do the Space Octopus. So, well, we'll get to the Space Octopus and the rest of that tonight. But what we're doing is this. We do this live, like I said, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. And the secret weapon of this show is you. And this one goes out to the Night Stalker out there that's submitted this idea. And it's a nice article that he put in the Discord. And if you want to be part of the Discord and part of the show tonight, just give us a call. Phone number is 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can go to troubledminds.org and click the Discord link. We will give you a direct invite and put you in there with all the rest of us, all the rest of these fine folks that contribute to this show on a nightly basis, and in the chat, and call in, and just all the rest of this. Like I said, the actual secret weapon of Troubled Minds is you, because it is about getting together and sharing some wild ideas, and considering that maybe the reality we live in is not the one that's been advertised. And that's what this is all about. And so if you want to call that phone number, click the Discord link, come join us. Discord is a free one, or it's a free program. It's actually from a great company that is like I said, we're not sponsored by Discord, but it's an amazing place to get together and share photos and links and ideas and videos and all kinds of things. You can do all of that. It's a voice chat. It's a actual chat, like typing chat, old school chat room, and all of that is kind of built into one little program, and it's pretty amazing stuff. So if you haven't joined the Discord, please do, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link, and also we've got another Discord running at fringe.fm/chat. Please join that as well. And it's the same program. Discord is free, like I said, and there you go. All right. A couple final things. Easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds is to download the Fringe app. Go to, of course, all your Google App Store, or your Apple App Store, and anywhere you get your apps, and it's free. Download the Fringe FM app, and it will get you directly to the Fringe, and you just smash the play button at 7:05 precisely, Monday through Thursday, and you'll get Troubled Minds, not to mention all the other great programming that happens on the Fringe FM as well. All right, so that is that. Yeah, what's up, Night Stalker in the chat? This one goes out to you, buddy. Happy birthday to you yesterday, and thank you for submitting this tonight. And we're talking about, yeah, that's right, your Space Octopus. And what does that even mean? What in the world does that even mean? Well, let us begin, shall we? Let us begin. All right, strap in. Here we go. All right, so this is an article written by an individual by the name of Jonathan McCormick. And again, this is shared by Derek in Massachusetts. Happy birthday again to you yesterday. So we'll call this your name day, even though it's probably not officially. But I missed it yesterday because I was a little late to the game. But let's do the Space Octopus, and we'll talk about this tonight. So this article was submitted by, of course, Derek in Massachusetts here, written by Jonathan McCormick. And yeah, well, the beginning starts like this, and we're going to get to some wild spots here as we go. But it begins like this. Are we being controlled by a super intelligent psychic alien octopus from the future. Yeah, you heard what I said. You heard that. And it says, scientifically speaking, yes. All right. All right. So that's where we're going to begin tonight. And there's a lot to this, okay? It goes pretty deep down several rabbit holes, including we're going to get to the Trickster Spirit and that archetype. We're going to get to, of course, what why a Space Octopus, what is the rest of this stuff, what's actually going on with this, because there's a lot here regarding, DNA structures of entities on Earth. That would be, of course, human beings and other vertebrates and invertebrates, which of course would be the octopus, and there's a lot with this, and it's been said, if you guys watch Ancient Aliens, you guys know the thing, ancient astronaut theorists say yes. Well, there's been a lot of talk and chatter in the scientific community regarding, of course, the bizarre DNA structure of an octopus, and actually in the sense that they think that they may be alien in nature, like they're so different from anything on Earth and so wildly intelligent for what we expect them to be that, well, there's a whole lot to this. So we'll get into all that on why it's a space octopus, and yeah, we'll get into some Archons while we're at it tonight, because Trickster Spirits and Archons and Space Octopi apparently go tentacle in hand. And there we go. All right, so that's where we begin tonight. Now the thing is this, right? So we're going to get to this article. I'm not going to use this. We're going to use this article as sort of a basis, like a premise to kind of start this conversation tonight. But we're not going to do too much of going deep into this article itself. If you want to read it, do the thing. Click it down and below. It's all, as you all know, I love to share my sources because there's amazing things happening out there on the internet, and again, people sharing things with each other and all the rest of this. So there's the article. I'm linking it in the chat if you guys want to talk about this, or I'm sorry, read it yourself and kind of get the premise in your brain here. But okay, so as we go, let's talk about the octopus first. All right. Now, in terms of DNA and evolution and the rest of this, let's go to this. Let's see. What do we got? Which one here? How about, let's see, not the octopus. Here we go. All right. So this is from a blog.poddy.com. Facts about octopuses that prove they're aliens. Is it octopuses or octopi, by the way? I was told in the old days it was octopi, but I think I see people write octopuses. Anyway, here we go. Staring into the depths and beauty of our water planet, many ocean lovers may not realize that the answer to where did the octopus come from might lie in the exact opposite direction of where we're looking. While Darwinism would have you believe that life was created from the primordial soup, another theory, Panspermia, maintains the belief that certain aspects of life and evolution may have developed due to seeds of matter that came to Earth from other planets. Before you laugh, just keep in mind that scientists estimate there are more than 100 billion planets within the Milky Way galaxy and possibly 100 billion galaxies in the universe. That's 10 to the 22nd power planets that could potentially hold life. All right, this is where it gets wild. You ready for this? Strap in. Get your maybe juice ready. In 2018, a group of 33 scientists published a paper purporting that the ancestors of the modern-day octopus arrived on Earth from one of these planets' seeds. Here's the evidence they presented for why these amazing marine mammals actually came from space. And we can stop there for just a second to consider, well, how did we get here? How did this happen? Well, ancient astronaut theorists definitely say yes. And there's a lot of pretty weird stuff with this octopus here. And again, like I said, DNA structure-wise, the fact that they can change their RNA on the fly, which you may or may not have known, which is pretty wild. They're devilishly intelligent. There's a lot that kind of goes into this with the idea that an octopus is so alien to Earth itself that there have been some, ancient astronaut theorists, among others, that have said that well, these things may be aliens. These things may have come from, been seeded with this panspermia from another star system or another galaxy, or who knows. And well, that's what we're talking about tonight as we begin. And that's just the start, because this gets wild. This gets more wild than you can ever imagine, because, well, we're not just talking about space octopus, octopuses, as it were. We're talking about, well, what they are, which is, let's do this. According to evolution, animals with the most adaptive characteristics will likely survive and reproduce more than disadvantaged animals, therefore passing down these traits which change and refine over time, creating evolution as we know it. But the octopus is a little different. The main characteristics we associated with octopuses: large, non-centralized brain, camouflage abilities, which we were talking about a little bit last night. Shout out to Kelly if you're out there listening. And let's see, camouflage abilities and flexible bodies all appeared on the evolutionary scene quite suddenly during the Cambrian explosion. Before then, the octopus's ancestors looked very different. Most notably, they were shelled organisms, okay? One of the earliest fossils of this era, called the Nectocaris, shows a rather sudden divergence from this shelled creature to a non-shelled creature. While scientists have been debating over the last 30 years why this fossil really what it means for cephalopods, it does cast doubt on the idea that they evolved like other animals. All right. Now, so there's some pretty weirdness here with the octopus in that their DNA hasn't changed in a very, very, very long time, right? So standard evolution says that we mutate, right? As part of the evolutionary process, Darwinian evolution, we mutate based on even birth defects and things like this, real mutations. And as those things happen and change what we are, we gain advantages or disadvantages in the savage garden. Well, that would be nature and earth. And so with that said, of course, this is basics. Everybody knows this stuff. I'm not telling anybody anything that's not widely known here. But the octopus itself doesn't actually do it that way. They don't do it. Yeah, I got that one right there. Yeah, I got that article. We'll get to that in a sec. So here we go. So they've been sort of the same DNA structure for millions of years, apparently. And they haven't changed because they're able to actually change on the fly in moments, change their RNA in a moment, which seems pretty crazy, right? So not only are they super smart, here we go, their intelligence goes far beyond simply moving through mazes or opening jars. Octopuses are some of the only invertebrates to use tools. They can wield external weapons, such as the way the blanket octopus carries tentacles from the Portuguese man-o'-war, and they hunt collaboratively with other species, sometimes having to give their fish partners a good punch to keep them in line. And a lot of this is actually kind of swiped and put into that other article we started with, actually even word for word here. But that's okay, because we're standing on the shoulders of giants anyway. So not only are these octopuses smart, they've got personality and exhibit eerily human traits. Octopuses are often mischievous, such as this octopus that climbed out of its tank to give visitors a more personal greeting. There's also Inky the octopus, who infamously escaped the National Aquarium of New Zealand in the dead of night by opening his own tank and slipping through a drain in the floor, which led to the ocean. Other octopuses have been purported spitting jets of water to short out aquarium lights that were bothering them, and even sneaking into other tanks for a midnight snack. Whoa, ho, ho, there we go. All right, so not only that, right, so it gets even more strange with this. So again, this is from blog.patty.com, and they're talking about how bizarre the octopus is, and even alien in the sense that they are not of this earth, right? They're so strange DNA-wise that they kind of don't really fit into, the Darwinian evolution as we would expect. And so, and not only that, the divergence is huge. So anyway, let's get back to this. Perhaps the most alien part of an octopus is something we can't even see. In their efforts to map the genomes of the entire animal kingdom, scientists have discovered some interesting facts. For one, the octopus has 33,000 protein-coding genes. As a comparison, humans have around 20,000. But despite its complexity and therefore higher probability of mutation, octopus DNA has changed very little compared to the speed of change in other animals. So they're not evolving, right? They're not actually evolving in that Darwinian scale, even over millions of years. So it makes you wonder, what secret do they have that we don't have? And yeah, there you go. Makes you think about the UFO that goes underwater. What's up, Matt, in California? I see there in the chat. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's part of this too, right? If we're talking about aliens and we're talking about UFOs, which we do on this show quite often, I think you get to a certain point where you got to realize, just like we've said, is that only 5% of the ocean is even mapped. There are some depths of the ocean that's never been seen by human eyes. Things like this, right? You would expect some of these, if you were an alien of sorts with this advanced propulsion techniques and the ability to transmedium travel and all the rest of that, you would probably be underwater at some point, right? Just to hide from us, to hide from the nuclear bombs or whatever, right? That's happening up here and all the sick stuff that people do up here on the surface. So that part certainly seems to track and make sense. That maybe, again, let's bathe in the maybe juice. But there's some pretty wild stuff here with the octopus itself. So here we go. So let's continue with this. So it is that if DNA is what sets the instructions for life, the RNA is what receives those messages and then makes things happen. And this is where it gets super weird with the octopus, all right? Where it starts to not just become this super intelligent, slimy thing with these tentacles and all the rest of this, right? It has actually what you would call maybe superpowers. Check this out. Okay, octopuses can bypass the need for genetic mutations and consciously give their RNA new instructions to alter their physiology pretty much immediately. While other species abandoned this ability hundreds of millions of years ago due to its overall detrimental effects, it seems this method is working out pretty well for the octopus. And okay, as you start to see what's going on here, there's a lot of weirdness with the octopus. But don't worry, we're going to get to the Space Octopus. We're going to get to time travel, and we're going to get to the Trickster Spirit tonight. We're going to get to all of this because there's a whole lot here with this theory and this idea. So as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as we go. Have you heard the fact that the octopus has been considered a possible alien entity here on Earth? That's what I want to know as we begin. The very first question is that. Have you heard this? Have you heard that ancient astronaut theorists indeed say yes regarding the octopus and the fact that they could be an actual alien implant from some other galaxy through the Panspermia process? If you've heard that, let me know. If you haven't, if you think this is outlandish and ridiculous and wild or somewhere in between, that's okay, because that's what we do. We consider all the possibilities on this show, and that's okay. Either you believe it or you don't, or it's somewhere in between. And again, whether we agree or disagree, and at least we're going to tell a good, fun story, and at least be able to shake our heads and giggle a little bit tonight, and then still be friends tomorrow, regardless of who thinks what. And that's what this is all about. So one more little thing, and then we'll get to a break as we go tonight, talking about, yep, you guessed it, the Space Octopus, right? Exactly. The Trickster Spirit. We're going to get to a bunch of that as we go, but let's do this. In addition to their intelligence, we're talking about the octopus now, personalities, and complex biology, some octopuses seem to exhibit otherworldly powers. Between 2008 and 2010, Paul the Octopus was regularly asked to pick the winners of FIFA games. That would be soccer games, or not American football. Football in the Latin American countries, and of course in Europe and Australia and everywhere else. It's soccer here in the States, but it's football everywhere else. Anyway, out of 14 predictions, Paul the Octopus was correct 12 times, an 85.7% accuracy rate. Yes, right? Yes. And there you go. There you go. So they say they have psychic powers. He was able to predict 85.7% accuracy in FIFA games, this Paul the Octopus. And I think that probably takes us to where we need to be just with the octopus bit. And we're going to continue tonight and get to the Trickster Spirit, get to probably the Archons, and this Space Octopus that may be controlling our reality from the future. So, of course, as we continue thinking about this and talking about this, we know what the ancient astronaut theorists say, but what say you? Well, is this outlandish? Is this giggle-worthy? Or is it not? And all the way around, I think we're going to have a fun time tonight and keep talking about this crazy stuff because, well, why not? If we don't, nobody will. So, if you want to be part of this conversation, I'd love to hear your thoughts as we start. Do you think an octopus is possibly an extraterrestrial plant through the Panspermia process and actually, literally, not of this earth? That's the first question tonight. Love to hear your thoughts as we continue. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More Psychic Octopus from the future when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And we're taking your phone calls tonight as we talk about, yeah, you'll never believe this, the Psychic Octopus that's controlling us from the future. Sorry, I did that wrong. Psychic Space Octopus. Follow. Anyway, if you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Love to hear your thoughts on this as we go. We're going to be talking about Archons tonight, the Trickster Spirit, the bizarre octopus, and the alien DNA supposedly this thing has, its ability to change its RNA on the fly, and all the rest of this stuff. It's a pretty wild and crazy ride we got going tonight. So let's see. Yes, you are correct. You are correct. James helping me out here. I am not on the air on Discord. I am now. Okay, there we go. All right, so there we go. So that's what we're doing tonight. So as we get going at the bottom of the hour here, we were talking about this octopus. All right, how the octopus. They say that there was a panspermia. Right, that the octopus was not really part of the evolution, the regular evolutionary process on Earth. And some of these scientists, and of course here's the actual paper itself from Science Direct, they describe the cause of the Cambrian explosion, which of course is when the octopus actually did its thing and started to become something on planet Earth. The title of the paper here is A Cause of Cambrian Explosion, Terrestrial or Cosmic. And yes, of course, as you would expect, we revealed the salient evidence consistent with or predicted by the Wick-Ramasinghe thesis of cometary biology. Much of this physical and biological evidence is multifactorial. One particular focus are the recent studies which date the emergence of the complex retroviruses of vertebrate lines or just before the Cambrian explosion. Such viruses are known to be plausibly associated with major evolutionary genomic processes. We believe this coincidence is not fortuitous, but is consistent with a key prediction of the HW theory, whereby major extinction, diversification, evolutionary boundaries coincide with virus-bearing cometary bolide bombardment events. Get that? The virus-bearing cometary bolide bombardment, which means, of course, that they're taking this the Cambrian explosion in actual life, in terms of life on Earth, and they're actually considering the fact that this may have been some sort of actual panspermia situation. Like maybe there was a comet that hit Earth and brought like a whole bunch of like different crazy microorganisms and whatnot that became these octopuses or these octopi, right? I think that's the way you're actually supposed to say it, but everybody on the internet seems to write octopuses plural. It sounds wrong, but anyway. Okay, so what do we got? I'm reading the chat, checking out everybody out there, seeing how everybody's doing. But I don't know. So what do you think regarding this? I think that there's a little bit of strangeness to this as we start, just because of, again, the Cambrian explosion, the fact that they want to attribute the octopus and the cephalopod in particular to this panspermia event in the Cambrian. And so the weird part is, if you're talking about alien DNA sort of seeded onto this planet, that's a thing called panspermia. And, we've talked about in the past on this show, of course, the whole, our DNA has been modified possibly by extraterrestrials, and the whole Anunnaki theory and some of this other stuff, right? And again, drinking the maybe juice, I'm not saying any of this stuff is true or it's not. I'm saying that it's a thing, and people talk about it and people consider it as being true in one way or the other. So I think it's worth talking about and worth thinking about. So back to the octopus here, and why they're so bizarre is that they think that this is part of it, is that it actually came from during this Cambrian explosion a couple 100 million years ago. It was actually a kind of just maybe just bam, dropped here on a comet or a meteor or something to that effect through that Panspermia event. And well, where they can't probably track it down because it's been far too long to actually track down, if how many comets or meteors or whatever hit us way back when, they can speculate that the DNA divergence between the cephalopod and ourselves is so different that it's been described as actually being alien in origin and alien in DNA. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. So as we go tonight, let's go back to this original premise. And again, what are your thoughts on this? Like I said, I know we're a little off the rails tonight. Like Matt said, we're just going to go without rails tonight. We're not even going to start on the rails. We're just going to go jump in the little space cruiser and just head right off outside the galaxy, because why the hell not, right? Nobody tells us what to think and nobody tells us what to say. So this is the thing, right? Back to this article from Jonathan McCormack, and he's discussing this as, well, yeah, this particular space octopus, as these things actually came from space, meaning, of course, this Panspermia. So you got to consider if that's the case, this Cambrian explosion was brought about by some sort of Panspermia event, then that means the alien DNA of the octopus exists elsewhere, okay? And so not only elsewhere, probably for a very, very long time, because we're talking about approximately 200 million years back to the Cambrian explosion. But then we're also considering the fact that if that DNA came in that Panspermia event, whether it's a meteor or a comet, that actually that cephalopod or octopus DNA would have been already, who knows, maybe 1 billion years old. It's hard to say, because you'd have to be able to pinpoint it back to the original octopus planet they came from, wouldn't you? Well, and that's why we're just starting without rails tonight, because here we are. Copy that, James. We'll get to you in just a sec here. So the thought is this, right? If this idea of the Cambrian explosion and this Panspermia event that brought the cephalopod to Earth, all right, if that's the thing, then you have to consider that somewhere else, maybe in this galaxy, maybe in some other galaxy, there are octopi that actually have been around for a very long time. And as we know, they're incredibly smart now here on Earth. But what about ones that were around 1 billion years ago? Maybe on different planets and doing whatever else. And that's where this really begins. And that's where the space octopus comes in, because they think that it was planted here through that one of those type of events. And so, I don't know, what are your thoughts on this as we begin? And this gets deeper, because of course, we don't just have the space octopus, we have the psychic ability that they've considered with what was his name? What was the octopus's name there? What's his name? I can't remember. Let's find his name real quick. So their actual cosmic powers. Remember, let's talk about, was it Sam? No, Paul. Paul the octopus was asked to pick the winners of FIFA games. And the way they did that, actually, is they put the two teams in jars. And the octopus, Paul, of course, would have to decide which was the winner and open the jar himself and pull out the winning, whatever it was, the little bauble that they put inside the jar. All right? Now, the crazy part is that before Paul the octopus actually did this with these, quote, psychic powers, he would stop and contemplate. He would actually consider between one thing and the next. Somehow, of course, not even speaking our language or even understanding what a damn soccer game is, or football for you non-Americans out there. Paul the octopus would stop and consider a moment, like he was in some sort of meditation, some sort of trying to figure out what exactly was needed of him before he selected the winning team. And again, 85.7% accuracy, albeit, of course, a small sample size, which is why we're just bathing in maybe juice tonight, because why the hell not? But, of course, they say that this was probably better than any known psychic in history that was able to select these things. Are we just calling this dumb luck at this point? I don't know. I think that's exactly what needs to be discussed here and why we're talking about this. So we begin this with the space octopus. All right. Of course, because they came through some sort of Panspermia event and ended up here on Earth sometime just after the Cambrian explosion, or just before actually, and possibly causing that. So with that, how this begins is there's your premise. There's your Space Octopus. We'll get to him being psychic, which we just talked about, and then how this goes even further off the rails in just a moment. So as we continue, love to hear your thoughts as we start this. This is again an article from Jonathan McCormick on Medium, and the links are all down below, again sent to us tonight by the Night Stalker. Happy birthday again to Derek, yesterday, belated. It was his birthday yesterday, but this is right down his alley. We're kind of talking Cthulhu in space, aren't we? The tentacled, omniscient octopus from the future. Yep, it may as well be Cthulhu. So, okay, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. You can also click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Let's go to our good buddy James Salcido of Salcido Paranormal. What's up, brother? How are you? Welcome to Troubled Minds. What's going on?
Thank you. Yeah, very interesting topic, and based on everything you said, it doesn't seem as strange to me as I don't know. It just doesn't seem as strange to me. The things about the octopus though, in the tanks moving around and escaping, and that's really fascinating.
Yeah, well, and that's just the beginning. Like, so they've been known to, again, squirt water to turn lights off, like they said, to short out lights that were bothering them.
Yeah, that's
they
wild.
apparently have been smart enough to pick on a particular staff in aquariums. Like when a particular person comes into the room, they'll squirt them with water, like a particular person. So they've literally singled out like a person to bully, right? Things like this. Like it's one of those situations where you're like, wait a minute, like this is not just some animal having a good time. This is some sort of sentience here, some sort of bizarre intelligence happening. But yeah, so there's not only that, but then the fact that they can change their RNA at will. That's the bizarre part, is that that's why they've been kind of locked into the same evolutionary state for millions of years, because they don't need evolution like the regular rest of the world does. They can kind of just decide on the fly. We've talked about their camouflage properties in the past. A little bit last night even we talked about that because of the cloaking show we did. But I mean, regarding all of that, I think you start to see the larger picture here, that there might be something more, let's say, menacing inside these octopi, as it were. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I had heard of the idea that they were alien, not in the detail that you brought up tonight, but that's a really interesting idea. And based on the everything you brought up tonight, I mean, I can't say it's impossible. What's really interesting is to think of what they would be like a million or a billion years in the future, if they would ever evolve to a point where, as your title suggests, or as you suggested, where they could be interacting with us from our future, their present. That's a whole other thing, because I mentioned in the chat that a lot of paranormal activity seems to be mischievous, whether it's poltergeist or whether it's with things that are cryptids or aliens, even in some cases where people don't even know what to describe whatever it is they've experienced or they've seen or heard. So it's really interesting to think that there could actually be a form to this whole trickster element that has been talked about in the paranormal for a long time now.
Yeah, the Trickster Spirit is an interesting idea here with the archetype of that, because it's not just, everybody knows Loki, the infamous Norse trickster god, right? Of course, in the Marvel comics and all the rest of that. But it's not the only actual, mythology where that exists. Like everybody's kind of got their own archetype of a trickster spirit or a trickster god, and I think that's where this kind of comes into, where we got the Charles Fort idea of not just evolution happening the way Darwin suggested, but instead that some of these things are maybe out of our hands in terms of not just on this earth, but also from possibly, like we've described on the show often, is that there's could be some of these interdimensional aspects with this. Including, well, if again, like you said, what happens if you have an octopus that's been alive, at least sentient for a billion years, right? Not in particular, I just mean the species. And where did they come from? And that's the weirdness of all this. Because, well, when you start to consider that, well, are they psychic? I mean, we're talking football on a small sample size, but that seemed pretty incredible that the octopus itself seemed to pause and reflect and wait and then decide which jar to open for the predictions. Pretty wild stuff. And yeah, so back to that paranormal thing. I think that this trickster spirit stuff is I don't think it's too far off the rails here, because in terms of, maybe an entity controlling people on this earth, that theory comes up with the Gnostics and Archons. I'm sure you've heard of Archons before, haven't you?
Yeah, mainly through this show, but yeah, no, that's and that's possible. That could explain why some people do things that just don't make sense, or even why in some cases people say that they don't know why they did something and they can't explain it. And it's not even, they don't even say, like, they don't even make the traditional claim of I was possessed. They just have no idea. And you can go to as big or small scale as you want with that. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, pretty wild, this idea. And so we'll get to what the rest of this means. We'll get to the Archons and the Trickster Spirit and that archetype and the rest of this stuff. But I think the weird part is that, well, ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and the divergence of this evolutionary process with the actual octopus, compared to pretty much everything else we've seen all over the entire Earth, is odd enough to consider that maybe this is some sort of off of this planet sort of introduction into our actual natural process, which it doesn't seem that ridiculous, because we know we were peppered with comets and asteroids and all the rest of this. We just look around now. We get an article every week about how we're about to get smacked with an asteroid, don't we?
Yeah, and what's funny about this? You picking this tonight? I literally read a story tonight about basically someone seeing a black orb-like thing, almost like a black, like a shadow orb. But the thing is, they said it looked like it had tentacles.
Ooh, I've heard
they saw this in their bedroom, on their floor, basically. And it didn't do anything. It just kind of was there, and it moved around, and then it was gone. But it's just the timing of that. I found that story literally today, and then you're doing this tonight. That's just really interesting.
Ah, so you're actually the one psychically pulling the strings here, aren't you? That's what's going on.
You got me. You got me.
Are you actually an octopus, James?
Maybe. Yeah.
How do you breathe outside the tank, James?
Well, there's technology. I mean, I have access to technology. I mean, that's, come on now. I mean, there's oxygen equipment and all that stuff. There's a lot of things you can do now. So.
All right.
But no, it's really, yeah, I love this topic.
All right, then. You keep your secrets. Fair enough. I appreciate the call, my friend. James here has a podcast called Salcedo Paranormal. Check it out. He talks about paranormal subjects 5 days a week. You can find the link to his show in the description below. Thank you, James. I appreciate you chipping in tonight and getting us started breaking the ice. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Talk to you soon, my friend.
Yep. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. There you go. All right. Yeah, we got a good one here as well. Matt in the chat says the Mind Flayer, right? The Mind Flayer from a good old Dungeons and Dragons, right? Kind of with the Cthulhu tentacles in the front of his face. Some bizarre things happening with this. So in any case, so let's get to the rest of this. So now, if we're considering, okay, so now this is where this gets weird. This gets super weird. So if we're considering that the octopus itself came from some evolutionary off-world place from possibly 1 billion years ago or more, then that stands to reason that there's a highly adapted or possibly evolved version of the octopus somewhere out there. And when I mean somewhere out there, that could be on some other planet, that could be galactically speaking, that could be, of course, well, very much like we know with the Call of Cthulhu of H.P. Lovecraft fame, the Great Old Ones, all right? And so, oddly enough, with that, the Cthulhu himself is described as a gigantic octopus type thing with so many mouths and so many arms and so many everything, to be so grotesquely huge and incomprehensibly ugly to the human spirit and psyche that just the mere sight of Cthulhu himself, this great old one, would cause madness in the person beholding him. And so, well, here we have, we have this. There's a fossil by the name, you guessed it, it is called Solacina Cthulhu. And as you see it on the screen here, pretty wild stuff. They named it after the Great Old One of the H.P. Lovecraft tales, as I just described. A study published in the Journal Proceedings of the Royal Society said, all right, here we go. Now, Jason Reza Giorgione asks, and this is from that, again, Jonathan McCormick article, if a 2-year-old octopus has this level of ESP, what level of psychic phenomenon does it have that no one thought to devise a test in order to measure? More importantly, if a monkey is to a human what an octopus is to some other cephalopod type creature that arrived together with it through spatiotemporal vortices in the ocean 270 million years ago, what are the psychic capabilities of that creature? All right, and that's what we're talking about tonight. Again, a highly evolved version of this thing that came to Earth, again, through this Panspermia effect. And, well, what does it mean? Is all of this possible? Like I said, and like Derek said in the chat a little bit earlier, where we're going tonight, we don't need rails. Absolutely. Looking to hear your thoughts on this as we go. Do you think that these octopus, the octopi, as it were, are actually from another space in the universe? That's the question. Another planet, another area, another slice of DNA. I don't know. That's the question that's on my mind tonight. I see there on the phone, Joseph. We'll get to you in just a sec. I didn't want to go to you and cut you off. We'll do that as soon as we get back. We're running out of time here. But the question is this. If that is possible, where we have the octopus coming from some other space in the galaxy, and of course with very, very old DNA through the panspermia process, is it also possible that there's a, let's say, I don't know, a juggernaut-like, highly evolved octopus out there somewhere in the galaxy? And if so, well, it seems very much like Cthulhu from H.P. Lovecraft. And do you think this is all possible, or do you think this is all ridiculous? Love to hear your thoughts if you want to be part of the show tonight. We're doing our thing, hanging out. Got a couple phone calls we'll get to as soon as we come back. I see you guys there. Hang tight. Thanks for being patient. We'll get right back to you. And that's what's on my mind tonight. Where we're going, we don't need rails tonight. Bathing in the maybe juice, considering what about H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhu, and the Great Old Ones? And if the octopus came to Earth through the panspermia process, what was the origination of that DNA? Is Cthulhu somewhere out there watching over us, possibly through other dimensions and pulling strings? You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts. If you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Taking your calls, considering all the things, bathing in the maybe juice. What do you think? What do you think? Cthulhu? Or nah? Don't go anywhere. More Space Octopus, Cthulhu, and you when we return. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. we are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing fantastic. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are calling random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
All right, so maybe,
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. Tonight, we're talking about the great old ones. We're talking about alien DNA coming to Earth through the Panspermia process and dropping on octopus, or at least their DNA, back before the Cambrian explosion 200 million years ago. Do you think this is possible? Some scientists have suggested it's the truth, and that's what we're thinking about and talking about tonight. Especially considering this. Imagine, 200 million years ago, alien DNA in the form of an octopus came from somewhere. So how evolved was that individual thing, which of course hasn't changed very much in hundreds of millions of years, DNA-wise? And is it possible that it came from one Cthulhu, from H.P. Lovecraft, known as a Great Old One? That's what we're considering tonight as we talk about Archons, the Trickster Spirit, and all the rest of this, and how this all fits in. Well, stay tuned and we'll get to that. If you want to be part of the show tonight, we are streaming live on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. And of course, we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And we're taking your phone calls. That's 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org, and that's the official website. And the phone number's there. The Discord link is there, and it's all there. Please also join the Discord at fringe.fm/chat. I'm watching all the chat in all the places and trying to keep up with all your thoughts and ideas as we go. So that's what's on my mind tonight. This alien DNA that came through this panspermia process. Is it possible that there's a super evolved, I don't know, maybe from 1 billion years ago or so, a super evolved space octopus out there that of course would be none other than the mighty Cthulhu from H.P. Lovecraft mythology? So I'm not sure. I think that's the question tonight as we're bathing in the maybe juice and considering all the things. And this is a fun one. Why not? Sometimes you got to take a leap here and do some loose association and end up wherever we end up. So that's up to you, of course. As you know, the secret weapon of this show is you. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So thank you guys for being patient on the phones. Let's go to Joseph in Iowa. What's up, my friend? Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well, thanks. Go right ahead. What are your thoughts on this octopus DNA stuff?
So I was in Florida, and there's a museum in Florida. It's the shark capital of Florida. I forget the place. And they have octopus in there, and they claim one of them. Well, they have a claim that one of them did what you said earlier. Climbed out of the tank and stole a fish out of another tank. But since they were feeding it, like it didn't need to eat the fish, it just would bring back fish to its tank for company. So, like...
the jailbreak.
I don't know.
That's pretty wild. Yeah, incredibly smart. That's what they say about the octopi. It's pretty wild. And again, like I said, picking on particular staff in these aquariums, they'll squirt water at like just one dude out of like a staff of people that come in and feed them. They'll just pick on one guy. It's pretty crazy how smart they are. But yeah, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I would say the oceans are old. I mean, I just asked my Google. I don't know if that's right, but they're like, it's billions of years old. So, I mean, I'd go as far to say, I don't know how old, like, the dinosaurs are. Do you know how old the dinosaurs are? Like, when they were when they got wiped out?
Yes, that was 65 million years ago.
So I would go as far to say that the octopus could have wiped out the dinosaurs. Who knows? Like, and then maybe like an asteroid hit, and they went into the water and they just couldn't reverse their forms, or maybe they just don't care.
Yeah,
they're just
especially if they've been super smart.
They're just chilling down there.
Yeah, if they've been super smart, exactly. And I think that's part of the weirdness too, is we can't really say whether maybe they did live on land at some point. And they kind of retreated to the water when that cataclysm came, when they say that the asteroid kind of hit the Earth, and it was a comet, I think, that hit the Earth and wiped out the dinosaurs, as they say. That was the Chicxulub impact, is what they call that, down in the Yucatan Peninsula. But yeah, I mean, so it could be. I like where you're going with this, because you got to consider all the possibilities, right? Sure, we can't say because we weren't there, and that's a hell of a long time ago. But pretty wild stuff. What do you think about? So if they're super smart and they have been around for a very long time, and this panspermia effect is possibly where they came from, what about the larger implication of some greater entity out there that's maybe seeding the universe with its own DNA? But of course, it would have to be some sort of super intelligent sort of octopus. Is that pretty wild?
I would think, yeah. I mean, I actually thought about that a lot. Like, since we have like our counterparts, like we have like mammals and all that stuff. But what if it could be that the super smart camouflage one is that upcoming intelligence, or it could be that one's already in space right now and possibly laughing at us right now.
Yeah, and I think
or
that's
beaming into us.
Exactly, and that's the weird part here. So if you're familiar with H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu, the great old ones are basically gods of the primordial world. Before there was even planets and the rest of that stuff, there were these entities. And so if that's the case, I mean, Cthulhu has been described, and I know it's fiction and all the rest of this from H.P. Lovecraft, but if that's the case here, where there are these primordial gods, why wouldn't they be sort of seeding their DNA or their spawn into all over the universe? Because you would expect, right? If that's the case, then you have worshipers everywhere, don't you?
I mean, I wouldn't look at it like worshipers. I would see it more like what are we doing to our own bodies? Like in science, when we're like trying to cure cancer, we're putting like tiny robots in our body that can target little things. Maybe we are like the cleanup of the universe, or I think we have to be anyway. Otherwise, we have to figure it out and survive and harness it. Otherwise, we'll perish in it.
Gotcha. All right. I'm with you. What else you got for us tonight, my friend?
So there's a movie on Netflix about like the smartest octopus, and it's about a diver who dives every day for like a couple months in the same spot and meets the same octopus. And it's on Netflix. It's called My Octopus Teacher. And it's really good. It's a really good movie.
Gotcha. Okay, so worth watching. So cool. I will check that out when I get some time. Sweet. So if we're drinking the maybe juice tonight, are you going to call this plausible or nah? With the panspermia octopus theory here.
In space?
Yeah.
I think it's very possible. Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. The oceans are pretty. You see how fast we evolved this, like in like just 100 years. I mean, you look at billions of years. I can't even imagine, really. Yeah,
it is so large of a concept to kind of wrap your mind around it. Yeah. I agree. Everything's possible given a billion years, isn't it? And I think that's probably scientifically, technically true. Right on. Appreciate it, my friend. Joseph here has a YouTube channel called Hydro Hose. Check it out, please. It just sounds just like it spells HYDROHOES.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate the call tonight.
All right.
Have a great one. Thank you very much. Simple as that. You guys want to be part of the show? 702-957-1037. We're discussing this theory, Panspermia. And not just Panspermia, we're discussing the fact that these octopi, the cephalopod, was actually seeded here on this Earth back in the Cambrian explosion, which of course was a couple 100 million years ago, something to that effect. And they say that maybe the life exploded on this planet because it came through the panspermia process, including, at the time, the cephalopod, which of course is the octopus. They're super intelligent. They've escaped from their tanks again, like Joseph was saying, to maybe jump into another tank to bring fish back into their own tank, not to eat, but for company, to hang out and be bros with the other fish. Seems strange, doesn't it? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. How possible do you think this is? All right, let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Hey. Yeah, I think this is completely possible. You know, if you think about just the way that the oceans, and when you hear about the old theories that there's water up in space, and people have you ever heard like the water bottle trick? You take a bottle of water, you fill it up with water, and you put your hand over the opening of the bottle, and you turn it upside down so the opening of the bottle is facing down. The water should pour out, but it doesn't. It has something to do with like a gravitational pull, a suction thing occurring. And so the water won't pour out. And if you take like a toothpick and you poke it through the opening of the bottle through the water, it'll float right up to the top. So it kind of imitates like gravity, basically. So it creates a firmament, like a false firmament kind of thing. And the old mythos talk about that there's water above and water below. That doesn't even have to be necessarily true. I mean, what that can insinuate is that maybe the ocean somehow is also the abyss of space. You think about like the cephalopods and how some of them are bioluminescent. And that occurs because with some of these creatures, because they're exposed continuously to a complete darkness. And so it's some kind of, it's a strange phenomenon. But you see that a lot with the cephalopods in the oceans and everything, and it comes from deep, deep darkness. The same is kind of like outer space. But that doesn't even have to be that there's water up there. We know that there is. So like the way the Earth was made and the way it got its water was from space, and we know that the rocks, either that smashed together to form the Earth, had water already in them, or that the water was put here from, like you were talking about with the seeding and everything. If that water was frozen and it contained the literal eggs or something of some kind of Cthulhu-like being, or that was already from very deep in space and it was carrying them here and it smashed here, and then the ice thawed and these eggs somehow, or I would say something to that effect, possibly. And then the idea of the type of personality of some of these cephalopods, and we don't really even grasp. And they're nothing, one more thing, too, that's kind of strange. If you look at the human body without its exterior skeleton protecting the nervous system, it looks very strange. It's all tendrils, connected to the brain and the eyes. Almost looks itself kind of like a cephalopod does, like an octopus. It's just a bunch of tendrils if you lay it on a table. And so it's kind of makes sense. And if you didn't have this shell, you would have to be immersed in a fluid like water if you didn't have the skin and everything. What if this Cthulhu thing, what if they want to like somehow get even into me, if you want to get really weird with it? I mean, if they were to somehow be able to be in a human host even and experience being on the surface, I mean, we don't know because microscopic hydras and all that stuff. But I think it's incredibly plausible. I think that the deep outer reaches of space, they even found through NASA, like something about hundreds of trillions more water than is in our oceans, of course, and it's surrounding like a black hole. So, like, there was something about that on NASA that I saw, but it doesn't matter. So we know that there is space waters, that there's, and if you take, another thing too that's really strange with the water out in space is water in deep, not in the deepest of space, but in zero gravity, turns into a sphere, a perfect sphere. But this whole thing with the water and the cephalopods being seated that way, that was my point, that it makes perfect sense that this could have happened. And then the idea about Cthulhu, primordial gods, yes. I mean, I think that's for sure. That it could be something, an alien type of personality, because we don't know they're not necessarily acting like people. They have their own, who knows what kind of personality. We actually don't even know, but they obviously have motivations of sorts, and we associate it with being kind of like our own. But if you think about the movie Alien and stuff, the way that kind of worked out. So, I mean, who knows? But I like it. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, it gets deeper than that, too. So while we got you on the phone here, we could take the next step. And if this is some sort of seeding process through the universe, through some sort of a primordial god or being, something like Cthulhu, what's happening then? Do we expect to find possibly the octopi all over the galaxy? That's the weirdness here, right? And if that's the case, like you said, if you want to get super weird about it, is that seeding process some sort of control mechanism somehow? You have the octopi on particular planets, and maybe you can somehow control the thought process. We're going to get to that in a sec with the Trickster Spirit. But any comment on that before before we get to that?
If the added reaches of space or the abyss are hydrogen, oxygen, H2O, if they're water, and these beings are living in that, and almost like amniotic fluid, I think that yes, they could be full of these types of beings that look like the cephalopods we see in our oceans, or the what is it called, like the just like the ocean life, the marine life. That's what I was trying to think of. But so it makes perfect sense. And the things that you see in the ocean are so bizarre. I mean, just unbelievable, some of the things that are at the bottom of the ocean in the deepest reaches of the oceans. I mean, it's like the stuff of nightmares, honestly. And so I fully think it's, if the abyss, too, of the ocean somehow, because we don't really necessarily know. I mean, if you want to get really weird with it, we don't know that somehow the ocean, because the ocean, at the bottom of the ocean, it acts very similar to space. Nothing can really go down there. It's really hard to do because everything just crushes in on itself. But what if there's some spots of the ocean that actually don't end in a seafloor at all and somehow wind up being right back in on itself somehow, like space or something? Somehow. It's almost impossible to figure out how that would be, but so it would make sense, yeah. And then with the idea of these great, like the Leviathan in the biblical mythos,
that's a good
comes
one.
out of the ocean. In the Norse mythologies, you have the Gorgomander, that gigantic sea serpent thing that's going to eventually destroy the world or something. So we have a lot of references to things coming out of the water and the primordial waters. So it doesn't hurt at all to throw Cthulhu into it and be like, yep, it's coming out of the water, whatever it is. I mean, that we're going to be coming in contact with, whether it's a great flood or that people have always thought that the waters were always something that transformation would occur from. And what that equates to humans a lot of times is being washed out, but hopefully not.
Hopefully
not.
not.
I don't know. I think Cthulhu, octopus, cephalopod, definitely.
Why not? Why not? Again, drinking the maybe juice off the rails tonight, so that's okay. Why the hell not?
Sure.
Why the hell not? So we'll get to this in a sec, but the scientific theory suggests octopuses are aliens and came to Earth in cryo-preserved eggs, which is exactly what we're talking about. We'll get to that and the rest of that in just a sec. Anything else for us while we got you on the phone tonight?
Good stuff. Happy birthday tonight, Stalker.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Shout out to Derek. Thank you. Jennifer, amazing stuff as always. If you want to give her a follow, please do. Link is in the description. Jennifer has a YouTube channel. Thanks for calling. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later.
Yep. Talk to you later. Bye.
Have a great night. Thank you. There you go. All right. Simple as that. You want to be a part of the show? We're having a conversation about panspermia, about the scientific theories that suggests octopi are aliens and came to Earth in cryopreserved eggs. And that's the idea of, panspermia. And so, of course, the idea beyond that becomes, if something out there is seeding these cephalopods, the DNA, out into the universe, out into the galaxy, what is that entity that's seeding that DNA, right? It's got to come from somewhere. And it doesn't just jump, right? Like, it doesn't just hop onto an asteroid and fly, does it? It seems like it gets put there. It seems like it gets put there, doesn't it? By what? And that's the question here. And that's how this gets even more strange. So thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Joseph, for the phone calls. Thanks, James, for kicking us off tonight. And what are your thoughts on this? Is this possible? Is this is again a scientific thing? They're trying to say that the actual octopus, the cephalopod itself, is so far different than the rest of the world, than the rest of the DNA on the rest of the whole world, that there's something here. There's something to this, that something out there has been seeding the universe with these types of creatures. Of course, the cephalopod, the octopus. So I have no idea. Again, back to Cthulhu for a second, and Call of Cthulhu and the Lovecraftian mythos. What does it even mean? Is there some entity out there that's kind of seeding the universe with these octopi? For what reason? Like, for instance, let's say that we get a Titan, the moon Titan, right? We know that there is water, liquid water on Titan, and we're looking in the next probably 10 or 20 years of getting a submarine, like a drones type submarine, to go drop into the waters on Titan. And the question is, if that happens, do you expect to see cephalopods on Titan? Imagine some sort of like really large, nasty, like just bizarre alien octopus on Titan itself with underneath the water. Or what if it's almost exactly the same as the octopi we have here on Earth? That's the super weird part here. But okay, all right. So as we go now this is the thing. So we're going to take this to the next level here. We're going to step on the gas and really get the maybe juice flowing. It's like this. So if you have this Cthulhu entity, or whatever this happens to be, sending out this cephalopod DNA all over the galaxy, or even all over the universe, what is it for? Is it for some sort of control mechanism, like I stated, to have their consciousness littered on every sentient planet throughout the galaxy? And if so, why? If so, why? And so we go to Charles Fort, and this is actually back to that article we're referencing here. This is great stuff from Jonathan McCormick. Again, links in the description. You guys can check it out. But it goes a little something like this. We're talking about a space entity, right? Sending out this information for what? The DNA to maybe have sentient beings on planets everywhere. To do what? We've talked about remote viewing. We've talked about being able, through quantum entanglement, being the spooky action at a distance. Do you think it's some way to be omnipresent on every planet that has any sort of civilization whatsoever? We're going to get to that and why that makes some sort of sense in the cosmic term. And, well, we're going to keep on trucking, considering these things and talking about all the things. If you want to be part of the show tonight, give us a call, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We're talking about the great old ones. We're talking about Cthulhu. We're talking about Panspermia, the DNA of an octopus, and you. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds after the break. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're talking about alien DNA. That's right, you heard me, alien DNA, though not like you think. We're talking about Panspermia and the cephalopod and the octopus, super intelligent creatures possibly seeded on this Earth back in the Cambrian explosion of life approximately 200 million years ago. Where did this DNA come from? Is it being sent out there into the galaxy by some super powerful octopoid entity? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. We got a lot to talk about yet because we haven't even got to the Trickster Spirits and the Archons just yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So let's go to our good friend Daryl in New York. Daryl in New York. Welcome to the show. Test 1, 2. Are you there? She's on a delay because of just the way the stream works and the delay works. So let's give her a second to pop in here. But okay, so if you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037, and we're talking about alien DNA. Cephalopods coming from these cryogenically frozen panspermia process, if you can believe that. What's going on, Daryl? Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Oh, hi, Michael. This is a great subject. I think they're so interesting, these octopus, how they're such chameleons. They could just assimilate into their environments. But I was thinking about Medusa, in the Greek mythology. She had tentacles like out of her head, like an octopus that worked independently, on her head. And she was pretty cool. I mean, she was had a lot of power and was kind of considered, kind of a ruler in her day. I don't know. She had a lot of power, but I think there's something tragic about the octopus. Do you know that when they mate, they both die? The male and the female. I don't know if it's all species of them, but anyway, that's how they die. I don't know, but they lay so many eggs to, up to 500,000 eggs. Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's pretty wild. And if you're going to seed the galaxy with something, then you would expect to maybe seed it with something that can lay 500,000 eggs.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
I think they're fascinating. I was listening or reading something that like these scuba divers were in like Antarctica, and they saw these octopus that were shape-shifting, and they looked like scuba divers. I mean, they thought they were aliens, but I think they were octopus. Did you read about that?
I didn't actually. I have seen some of the stuff where they're talking about the octopus as a alien entity. Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, but no, I haven't seen that particular instance you're talking about there.
Well, I don't know. They thought they were looking at some kind of alien life. No wonder we think they're from outer space. I mean, they're so bizarre, but they actually took on the formation. They looked exactly like the scuba divers with like their tank and everything. That they can create an illusion that would look exactly like a human being, They can shapeshift. I mean, they're unbelievable. I think they're so intelligent,
Yeah.
But they don't even have like a skeleton. They're totally like Jello,
Yep.
How could they be so smart and they're not mammals,
Yeah. No skeletal structure and incredibly strong and tough. Like that's the weird part here, right? You can't just stick them with the stick and they're dead, right? They'll kind of form around it and grab it from you. Like that's how like insane smart and like tough these things are. Yeah, pretty nuts. And so like Joseph was saying, I'm sure you caught that earlier. He said that he was at an aquarium down there in Florida, and they said that an actual octopus climbed out of its tank to get into another tank to get a fish to bring it back to its own tank to hang out with it, not to eat it, to hang out with it.
That's crazy. They're they're brilliant. I think they're so smart. I mean, it's incredible. I think they're just the coolest thing in the world. I mean, but they can absolutely like change color. They're such chameleons, and then they can even change their shape. I think they're amazing. They're totally amazing. But they have to stay in the water. They can't walk on land. So.
Unless, of course, that's the crazy part. So they can change their RNA in an instant to be able to actually maybe do things like that. So I wonder if they were forced out of the water for some reason, if they could it maybe turn into like little walking on the beach sort of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the water gives them an advantage. They can turn into a shape, but once they're on land, that whole theory is gone to shit because they have the gravity and no bones and no skeletons. So how would they maintain that shape on land? They're almost like zero gravity in the water,
Yeah, like they'd be just a puddle of mush on the beach sort of thing. Yeah, that makes sense. Ash has got an actual... I saw this article a few days ago. United Kingdom declares octopi squids are sentient beings. I did see that. And so meaning that once they classify them as that, we're not allowed to kill them anymore in cruel ways, meaning we can't cook them alive and things like that. But yeah, I did see that article. Thanks, Ash. That's pretty wild, right?
Oh my God, they cut the squid's faces off, you know? I mean, that's how you cook squid.
Yeah,
I mean, it's terrible. You just take a scissors and cut their face off, and then you fry them up, you know? They're delicious. I've eaten octopus. I feel so guilty, you know? I don't know how I can do that, but they are so delicious. Oh, it's horrible. Eat something so intelligent, you know? I feel terrible, but they are so good.
Yeah, they're so good. It's so good. It's so good. All right. So what do you think about the Cthulhu stuff? The being seeded from some extraterrestrial world with some super intelligent version of an octopus somewhere out there. What do you think about that idea?
No, I think they're not social enough to do any kind of intelligent control or anything. I don't know. I mean, they're just loners. They pretty much spend most of their time by themselves. But I don't know. That it sounds like that you know, aquarium octopus wanted company. Maybe they're starting to get more social. Maybe they're. I think they're very adaptable. You know, that they can adapt and probably change into social creatures. I don't know. But I read they live anywhere from like 2 years to maybe 16 years, so they don't have longevity on their side either. You know,
which is why you got to crank out 100,000 babies super fast.
That's right. That's right.
That's the R and the K selection theory, right? That's why bunnies aren't like crazy and just make a bunch of little bunnies super fast because they're prey animals, right? But if you have a short lifespan, it would be a similar thing as well. Yeah, great stuff. What else you got for us, Daryl?
I think I have a lot more, but just take another call. I just love this subject. I just want to hear more. I love him. I love octopus. I could watch him all day.
Okay, well, we're going to get to the Trickster Spirit as well. So you're welcome to stay right where you're at. Thank you for the phone call. Appreciate it. Glad you're feeling better. You sound a ton better. You sound back to your old self, and it makes me glad to hear it. Thanks for spending your time with us tonight. Thanks for the phone call.
Thank you.
Pleasure's mine. Go ahead and mute up. You can stay right there and listen. Okay, so yeah, the sound is coming through. So if you do call in on the Discord, just FYI, guys, put it in streamer mode, and those sounds won't come through because those were coming through Daryl's side when you guys were chatting. So that's why they don't come through on mine because it's on streamer mode. But anyway, just a little Discord hack to keep those beeps from coming through when people chat. But okay, so anyway, what we're talking about tonight is this, right? Scientific theory suggests octopi are aliens and came to Earth in cryopreserved eggs. And what we're talking about, of course, is panspermia. The idea that the DNA was seeded somehow throughout the galaxy, and of course, maybe even the universe, if we're talking about billions of years, then, well, who is seeding this, all right? And we've talked about remote viewing. We've talked about the sense of quantum entanglement, right? Spooky action at a distance, as Einstein has claimed. So what about this? Now, this is really like taking a bath in some maybe juice. But consider this. What if this super powerful entity, whoever this is, this Cthulhu-like Lovecraftian old one with the octopoid sort of visage and DNA is seeding these octopi and the cephalopods around the galaxy as a way to maybe remote view in through that quantum entanglement of his own or her own DNA. Meaning, of course, that very much like the Archons, and that's why I'm going to bring the Archons into this, that possibly controlling sentient life through the seeding of its own DNA. And like I said, would you expect to find maybe on the moon Titan or Enceladus, I think is another one where they say has actual liquid water there, where they have an ocean very deep and they expect to find possibly life in those areas. Would we expect to find in those spaces things like Cephalopods, things like these octopi we find on Earth. I don't know, and that's the question, right? So let's again take another super hit of maybe juice here, and consider that maybe this entity. All right, again, we're saying maybe, and that's fine. That's okay. That's what we do on this show, because why not? It makes for a good story, and it makes for some good kind of unlocking your brain and considering the possibilities of the world. But think of it in terms of this. If there's an entity out there spreading its DNA all over the galaxy, what do you think the reason is, right? Other than, of course, just like longevity and, passing on your DNA, just, very much like just people reproducing. But what if this thing is spreading it all over to have some sort of galactic control? Meaning, of course, they're actually pulling strings by having its consciousness buried here through these cephalopods deep inside the ocean. And so it's able to access sort of through, that quantum entanglement of its own DNA to maybe access the space here on Earth. And so it doesn't have to travel, again, like I said, like I described, maybe the Lovecraftian old one that might be Cthulhu is actually Sagittarius A, which is the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy, center of the Milky Way. But if it's actually sending these things out, DNA-wise, maybe it's a way to be in instant contact with those planets and have some sort of influence, because we've determined that it's possible that a cephalopod could have psychic powers, right? Which seems strange with the, again, it predicted 85% of the football matches. And it actually, remember, the octopus that did this, it took time in contemplation before choosing which jar to open, as they made it pick the different things, right? They gave it options. Okay, so then, check this out. So what if, right? Now, if we go to the Archons and they have some sort of galactic control, what if, right, let's say in a Cthulhu-like way or like the Archon way, there's some sort of control happening to people through this cephalopod seeding of the galactic DNA situation in the Panspermia stuff. So, all right, so again, some super good maybe juice here. So follow me down this rabbit hole for just a moment then. In many traditions, we're talking about the Trickster Spirit, all right? We're talking about the archetype of the Trickster. And what that means is that, of course, there are people pulling strings. There are people causing mischief. But not people, let's say. We're talking about spirits. And if we talk about spirits, of course, we know that could mean what? That could mean space poltergeist has been sort of an actual way to kind of demean the subject. But because who knows? Who knows what actually lives in space? I think that's the weird part of this. But let's say that there's some sort of galactic control happening through this seeding of DNA and the quantum entanglement effect that we completely still do not understand. And, well, if that's the case, and we have all of these traditions, not just in mythology, different cultures of the Trickster Spirit. And what does that mean? Well, let's go to this real quick and talk about the Trickster Spirit and how this could be. There's animal totems with the Trickster Spirit. Let's not do that one. Let's see. Not that one. Hold on. Let me find the right one here. The Trickster Archetype. And what this means is this is from knowyourarchetypes.com. And this is what I'm talking about. So what if, very much in the Archon way, this Cthulhu-type being is seeding this alien DNA in the form of cephalopods or octopi onto not just Earth, but many other planets in the galaxy, to, through some quantum entanglement effect, be able to access this planet with a thought. All right? And if that's the case, and we have these, again, the Archons sort of pulling strings and keeping us under control. We'll get to the Archons as well in a sec. But if that's the case, then is it possible that a lot of the shenanigans that have happened with people and with wars and with all kinds of things, if you remember, one of the famous tricksters in Greek mythology actually caused the Trojan War. So, well, if you do something like that and you consider the archetype of the trickster, here we go. One of the key archetypes of the psyche identified by renowned psychoanalyst Carl Jung, the trickster is a mischievous and often malicious practical joker. Their dubious jokes and deceitful manner can lead to them being assumed to be a purely negative influence, though in reality they can in fact be loyal allies and challenge individuals to break out of the conventions and rules which society has placed on them. Uh-oh. So what does that mean? Does that mean the ultimate red pill is from Cthulhu and cephalopod DNA? It's seeded through the galaxy? Uh-oh. Here we go. The Trickster archetype and characteristics are like this. The Trickster is capable of forward-thinking strategy, planning out future moves to great effect. Check. Possessing of great intelligence, usually more so than would first appear to be the case on the surface, the Trickster is able to navigate their way through life's challenges using cunning, mischief, and trickery. Check. The Trickster may also have a gift for entertaining others. When in this guise, they are most associated with the clown. Well, I'm not so sure octopi and cephalopods have a way of tap dancing and entertaining us, but that one, as Joseph described, did climb out of the cage, his own tank, and go into another tank to get the fish and bring it over to hang out with it, right? It wanted company. So I don't know. There's a little bit of weirdness happening here. And so not only are we talking about, of course, like the Archon. So what is the Archon? Why am I bringing that into this? In Gnosticism, the Archon were malevolent, sadistic beings who controlled the earth, as well as many of the thoughts, feelings, and actions of humans. All right? I'm going to say that again. And this is what I'm getting to, right? And this is where this sort of leads us into this, well, why are they seeding their DNA throughout the galaxy? All right, because of course we're talking about the Cambrian explosion, where the cephalopod DNA is supposedly supposed to have just appeared on Earth. And so they say that it probably happened through that panspermia effect. All right, but here we go. The Archons were malevolent, sadistic beings who controlled the Earth, as well as, this is where it gets interesting, many of the thoughts, feelings, and actions of humans. And if there's some sort of entity out there, galactic or dimensional entity, doing this, controlling the thoughts, feelings, and actions of humans, why not Cthulhu? Through DNA seeding, and of course, that would be quantum entanglement and some sort of remote viewing to access what's actually happening on Earth in real time through entanglement, through its own DNA. I don't know. It's just a thought. Howdy, internet people. It's just a thought, if you know who I'm talking about. But I don't know. I think this, once you start kind of pinning it down to this level of WTF, it's a lot of maybe juice. And that's okay. Sometimes you got to have a little fun with it and think in terms of maybe the greater aspect of what could be going on out there. If things like this are happening, clearly we have no freaking idea. And, well, that's probably part of why maybe being a human being is so hard. Right? We've talked about that in the past, the human condition, all the ways we got to twist ourselves in knots just to justify our personal takes on the world when, well, the world itself seems to be a strange place. And that's what we're talking about tonight. What do you think? What do you think about the Trickster Spirit archetype? What do you think about maybe this influence of the Archons through possibly a Cthulhu-like entity that's seeding its DNA throughout the universe and galaxy, of course, in the terms of cephalopod DNA? I don't know. I don't know. What's up, Race? Race in the chat says, maybe Juice should be the name of this show. And it kind of is. It's the unofficial nickname, I guess. But okay, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think? Considering the Archons, the Trickster Spirit, and that whole archetype, and of course, back to the cephalopod seeding of the galaxy through this panspermia effect, do you think there is possibly out there some sort of Cthulhu entity that's maybe making this happen? And I'd love to hear your thought. We got a few more minutes if somebody wants to jump in here and get on the phone. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And let's go to this Trickster thing I want to talk about real quick too. So we got the Trickster archetype, but then we also have, there's again, all over the actual mythologies of the world, basically. We have these trickster gods and goddesses. This is from learnreligions.com. And let's go to that one I was talking about. So we have Eris, the Greek goddess Eris, Eris, I-S. A goddess of chaos, Eris is often present in times of discord and strife. She loves to start trouble, just for her own sense of amusement, and perhaps one of the best known examples of this was a little dust-up called the Trojan War. It all started with the weddings of Thetis and Peleus, who would eventually have a son named Achilles. All of the gods of Olympus were invited, including Hera, Aphrodite, and Athena. But Eris's name got left off the guest list because everyone knew how much she enjoyed causing a ruckus. Eris, the original wedding crasher, showed up anyway and decided to have a little fun. She tossed a golden apple, the apple of discord, into the crowd and said it was for the most beautiful of the goddesses. Naturally, Athena, Aphrodite, and Hera had to bicker over who was the rightful owner of the apple. Zeus, trying to be helpful, chose a young man named Paris, a prince of the city of Troy, to select a winner. Aphrodite offered Paris a bribe he couldn't resist. Helen, the lovely young wife of King Menelaus of Sparta. Paris selected Aphrodite to receive the apple and thus guaranteed that his hometown would be demolished by the end of the war. And there you go. And there's more here. There's a whole bunch of trickster spirits. We'll get into some more of this as we go tonight. But I think that's the question. I think if you're trying to weave a cosmic narrative of some gigantic, malevolent entity pulling strings for their own amusement, well, maybe Cthulhu is a trickster spirit. Maybe in the Trickster Archetype, the seeding of the cephalopod DNA is a way to dip into exactly what we're talking about through that quantum entanglement effect, possibly remote viewing, and of course, causing chaos and strife to the human race. So, love to hear your thoughts on this. Well, as we finish up, we actually got like a minute left. I see you there, Ash. Hang tight. We'll get to you in just a sec, and we'll put you on the show. But I think there's a weirdness to this, right? There's a super strange bit to this, and it is what it is. It's one of those strange things. I think if you can stitch together some of these narratives, and again, this is not me, by the way. Shout out to Night Stalker again, Derek in Massachusetts. Happy birthday to him. Happy belated. He was turned 32 years old yesterday. Thank you, Derek, for participating in the show and sharing this amazing article. But this is from Jonathan McCormack, and he wrote this article sort of, again, loose association, stitching this stuff together and considering that, well, maybe, are we being controlled by a super intelligent psychic alien octopus from the future? Yeah. Scientifically speaking, he says, yes. And I'm going to leave it with that and say, also, ancient astronaut theorists say yes. And as we finish, as we wrap this up, you guys know how this goes. It's a little something like this. If you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. We're going to keep talking about the Trickster Spirit. We're going to talk about, of course, the Archons. We're going to talk about this Cthulhu entity seeding the cephalopod DNA throughout the galaxy. What do you think? Oh boy. Thanks for listening, guys. As we finish, be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. All right, Michael Strange here. This is Troubled Minds. We're just hanging out, talking about all kinds of weird stuff. And so as we get into the third hour, you guys know the drill. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break here, and we'll be back with more of this. But what do you think? Do Do you think there's something to this, or do you think we've done it this time? Damn it, Michael, you've done it this time. We are way off the rails here. Well, you can blame Derek in Massachusetts. I think it's an amazing article, how we started, and it's just kind of doing the free association, and, well, maybe this, then maybe that, and maybe why not, and, well, here we are. We're going to get to Trickster Spirits, we're going to get to that archetype, we're going to get to Archons, of course, and how maybe it fits into this, because there's more to say about that. And what do you think regarding Panspermia and cephalopods being sent out through the galaxy? What does it mean? What does it mean? More Trouble Minds on the way. 2-minute break. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. We got Ash the Reptilian here. Not sure if he's going to jump in, but you're more than welcome to, my friend. Be right back. More Trouble Minds on the way. 2-minute break. Here we go. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're here talking about Cthulhu. That's right, Cthulhu. And not just Lovecraftian mythos Cthulhu, but also what about the cephalopods being seeded throughout the galaxy? Some have speculated that the Panspermia effect brought cephalopods and the octopus, to Earth about 200 million years ago in the Cambrian epoch, which of course means that there was an explosion of life, and they don't think it came from evolutionary standards. Instead, they think that it actually came onto Earth through some sort of seeding, galactic seeding process, again, Panspermia. And so the question is, right, if the cephalopod and the octopus came to Earth approximately 200 million years ago, what exactly was seeding their DNA elsewhere? And that's the thing that makes me go, there's got to be something out there that was super old, even primordial to the universe, that was possibly dropping these things all over the galaxy. So what was that entity? Is it something like Cthulhu? Is it something like exactly what we're doing here? And I'm not sure. Derek's got it right. The Night Stalker, like a giant cosmic primordial Johnny Appleseed with tentacles. Exactly. That's a good way to put it. We got our good buddy Ash here. Ash, the reptilian from Mars, test 1-2. Are you there, buddy? Are you there?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear. Loud and clear. Our uplink to Mars is hot and piping today. What's up, my friend? How are you?
How you guys doing? I'm doing well. A little under the weather, but I'm recovering.
Oh,
I have Mars Corona.
Did they get the Marsacron variant on Mars? Oh man.
Yeah. It's mutated that I can, spread off planet. So we didn't close the Mars border. So unfortunately, now it's here and it's spreading. So I'm on my 35th booster. Well, I just find stuff out in the Martian soil and just eat it. And I just, I figured it's good enough.
I think you're going to be fine then. I think you're going to be fine. I'm
going to make a full recovery.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you're at least not laid out. That would be the bad thing. So I don't know. We're talking about, I don't know how much of the show you caught before you popped in here, but what about the cephalopod being seeded from some sort of galactic entity through that panspermia process? You think we're way off the rails tonight?
Man, you know what? And I think you guys can attest to this, is that you kind of think it's going to be one way when you get into this kind of stuff, and then you start digging and it gets weird. You hear some weird stories. So what is reality? And we don't really know. We really, really don't. I just listened to a bunch of stories of near-death experiences and after-death experiences. And a super commonality is people being able to see themselves and hovering above themselves. And so I like to use the example of remote viewing and after death because it breaks our paradigm of what we understand as reality and what's potentially possible. So is there like entities on the other side? Yeah. I mean, if the soul exists, then there must be other kind of souls, right? We don't really know. And I think the arrogance of man is to just assume our tools are good enough and that we'll we're figuring it out. But I think a lot of the weirder stuff that the mind breaking stuff is kind of kept away from us. And you know, if a 11-foot mantis comes in through your wall through a portal and talks to you through telepathy, I mean, there's so many things there that just don't make any sense, right? But these are the kind of stories we hear. So yeah, it's a good topic because you know, first off, octopi are pretty cool, they're pretty dope. They have fun fact, they have a brain in each arm. They're the only animal, I believe, to even have a second brain, let alone one in each arm. So it's almost like they're an engineered organism to some degree, or they have evolved on a different parallel from our biological life. Because at least you should see something else with that sort of like system, right? You know, like look at Venom. Venom is in snakes, it's in scorpions, it's all over the place. But you don't see like, you know, trees with brains in their stems, or it just doesn't. It's just a weird creature, and they are super intelligent. Like I linked earlier, they're sentient enough that, you know, we shouldn't be just eating them alive now. But I mean, I'm sure they still will, but in some places of the world. But yeah, they're a really freaking cool creature, and these remote viewer, he was remote viewing. I was watching this episode on Farsight, and I bring him up because there's a lot of interesting little moments that happen. One of the moments is he accidentally remote viewed like this like alien colony, and he like got the sense that what they did for fun was they engineered creatures and tried to make the most like ridiculous creatures, but make them stable, make them in a way that like, you know, put it on their garden, the earth, and then see if it'll stick, it'll actually survive and like reproduce. And I don't know, I just always felt like the octopus was some guy like popping off, man. He like got an A. It's such a crazy creature.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing too, is that it's with all of that weird DNA stuff, and you know, they're super smart. We were talking about this tonight, and the fact that they can actually change their RNA in a moment, at a moment's notice for whatever they need. Right? We've seen their camouflage abilities. Joseph called in and said he was at an aquarium in Florida, and one of them actually climbed out of its tank to go get into another tank to get a fish to bring it back to his tank to hang out with it, because they feed it so it wasn't hungry. It wanted to hang out with this fish, I guess. So, like, what the hell's going on with that?
Yeah, it's strange. It's a strange creature. You know, I think it's got ink. It's got a beak. It's capable of problem solving. And I always wondered, you know, well, they say those gray aliens are like robots, biorobots, and they have like a weird, almost like blue kind of like flesh to them, and they got big eyes. I always wondered, like, you know, if they use the same tech in both creatures, in the octopus and in the gray. I don't know, just like a random thought, but it's a weird thing, man. There is they have a brain in each arm. I had some notes here. I'm just going through. Genetic seeding. Yeah, the genetic seeding, the Panspermia is the idea that it's probability wise, it's probably more common that life can spread from one planet to the next than just manifest from nothing, right? All you got to do is manifest from once, like something like once, like 10 billion years ago, and it's going to spread all over the place. So that's statistically more probable. Well, you know, it doesn't mean that life couldn't come, you know, germinate again, right? And maybe that is some of the life here on this planet. It's so strange. You know, I look at some creatures and I'm just like, man, that is on purpose, you know, like the scorpion. Like, what the heck? Like, how did that evolve? Like, it just had like a thing sticking out of its side, and then it was like, oh, I'm gonna have poison in it now. I mean, there's a bombardier beetle that literally, like, it's like a dragon. It mixes fluids and blows up, and it like can cause a lot of damage. It's like a rocket. It's like, explain to me how that would naturally evolve. Explain to me. It just starts producing one fluid and then like picks up the other fluid and starts walking around with it until it doesn't make it like our science is. I think it's one of the biggest problems right now is that our science is dumb. Like our science is supposed to be smart and like evolution and this and that, but I think it's actually dumb. Like it lacks common sense. Like the bombardier beetle, or I don't know. Like there's a lot of species like that. So where the heck did the octopus come from? And it's a prime example. It's just so out there. Yeah, and it's like if it evolved with all these features, why didn't other things evolve like that? I mean, it's pretty effective, right? Like it's a pretty effective creature. There's a phenomenon in nature where creatures became social, like wolves and humans, and creatures with social hierarchies were way more successful than their competitors. Well, the octopus didn't care. The octopus was such an amazing creature; it didn't need to become social. Not really. So, like, why didn't? Where's the other weird octopus creatures? Where's the like wolf with like tentacles coming off its face? I don't know. I just maybe I'm just crazy, but these are just thoughts.
How dare you? How dare you? The thoughts from Mars. Well, at least the Marsacron variant is under control. It seems like you've handled that, and well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that it's handled and you're doing well and all the rest of that. So we're going to keep talking about this, of course, and we'll get to the Archons and the Trickster Archetype. And is that what's going on here? Is this actually the craziness of, well, if we're seeding DNA from maybe some primordial entity, well, and why are they cephalopods? Why are they these octopi? Because if they are, then is it for a particular reason other than just sort of like spreading that information out, or is it some other version of maybe control, maybe sort of a galactic control? That's kind of what I'm looking at here. But good stuff. We got Night Stalker. We're going to bring him in, but you're welcome to stay, Ash. Don't go anywhere if you got some time. Completely up to you, of course. Amazing takes as always. Let's go to Derek. Derek in Massachusetts. What's up, my friend? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and Ash. What's happening?
Going on, Brutus? What's happening? Great show.
Thank you. This is yours. This is your baby, man. You linked that one, and I was like, oh, how could I pass up Space Octopus from the future?
I was honestly figuring it was too much maybe juice, but I should have known. It's just the right amount.
Just the right amount. Hey, man, we're not scared to bathe in the maybe juice. It's all good.
Yeah, exactly.
What are your thoughts on this Panspermia stuff and the rest of it, right? Do you think there is maybe a link here with the Archons and that Trickster Spirit that maybe this all traces back to Cthulhu or something?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It definitely could. I mean, as far as like Panspermia and stuff, I know in Lovecraft, with Cthulhu, they have the outer gods and like the elder things, which are these primordial aliens and stuff from space, and they seed Earth like at the Mountains of Madness with these like space spores and stuff that come down, and they create these like black goo monsters and stuff, and it's a very like Lovecraftian version of ancient aliens. So if there's some type of like outer god, ancient cosmic alien DNA that's being spread all across the cosmos, landing on planets and spawning life, maybe all life is from that, or maybe just octopus sprawled up from that, or I don't know. But I had a thought while you were talking. There was an article from, I think I posted it like an hour and a half ago, probably in the chat, from The Conversation about like, can octopuses like keep evolving past humanity? Basically, like, what if something happened to us? Would the octopus still survive and keep evolving, or what if like nothing happened to us and they just evolved side by side with us? Would they eventually like overtake us and dominate this planet? And like, what if that's happened elsewhere? And what if we're dealing with like these sentient versions of octopus that lived on planets with their own humanoid species, and just they were the dominant one. They beat them, like we invented technology first, but what if they get there eventually too? And like the scary thought as far as this, like, what if some type of psychic octopus is running the universe? What if instead of humanity, we always talk about an ancient AI or an advanced cosmic AI that maybe a different race of humans built? Maybe we didn't build it. Maybe an octopus built it, and it's some kind of crazy AI octopus that's at the center of the universe with its tentacles all metaphorically all over the galaxy, you know. And that's the thing that's like sending out these spores or these panspermic waves like all across the universe and building life from that. Maybe that's the thing that's trying to build this technology that we talk about all the time. Maybe instead of being some AI from us, it's an AI from a sentient octopus race. How's that for maybe juice?
That's pretty wild. And think of it in terms of this, right? Like I keep saying, if I have to pin me down and say what exactly is Cthulhu, I keep pointing to Sagittarius A, right, as the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy. But also notably, galaxies have arms like an octopus.
I know. Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, so it makes you wonder, you know. And if it is like what, like science always talks about, or not science, I mean like weird sci-fi astronomy always talks about is a humanoid shape like the basic shape. There's another article that got aggregated earlier this week about how is like a humanoid the most efficient thing in the universe. Like, do we keep popping up on other planets because that's just how evolution works? But are we more efficient than the octopus, or is that just a human mindset? Are we saying that from the year 2021 where we're the top dog, but maybe in the year 3021 they overtake us somehow, and like an octopus wouldn't 8 arms and 8 brains, and they can escape all kinds of stuff. They seem like they're not talking to us, so we don't think they're as smart as us, but in a lot of ways they're pretty crafty, you know, like they're smart. So what if they, in some other parallel world, they're the ones that created technology instead of us? They dominate us in a second. It wouldn't even be close, you know?
Yeah, well, and in terms of like intelligence too, like we're Elon Musk is talking about going to Mars, right, and saying that we have to be a planetary species if we're going to survive. So the ultimate way to survive, of course, would be not just become a planetary species, become like a galactic species. And so the way to do that is exactly what we're talking about, right? You just see the DNA all over rocks and things that are just flying all over the place, and maybe just give them a push from the center. Maybe that's the stuff that's going on from there, from that center of the Milky Way, whatever that supermassive black hole is. There's some sort of process happening there where this DNA gets seeded and pushed, and then that stuff just flies out, and here we are. Welcome, cephalopods, to the Cambrian explosion 200 million years ago, and well, it's what do they say? Truth is stranger than fiction, is it?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's what I think is happening. That if you had to twist my arm and say like, what's creating life around the universe? That's kind of what I think it is. It's probably some advanced mind of some sort, some AI or something that's like not worried about time. So maybe some trickster entity or something that's like just seeding out they've seeded out the building blocks of life in some mass panspermia wave. So like that they've like pollinated the earth ready for growth. And then every 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years, they just keep sending out these waves of spores and stuff. And they talk about, in all kinds of different, like in regular human history, they talk about the stoned ape theory in Terence McKenna and how like maybe the jump from chimp to man was they got into the mushrooms. You know, that's some spore. All it would take was just this cosmic mind to send out these spores and boost the intelligence of life on all these planets. And then they send out more spores and more ideas, and how many Silicon Valley tech elites say that they get ideas from psychedelics and stuff to build technology. And what if it's all again from this cosmic mind just nudging along these little test tube planets they've created with this like primitive life to see which one creates this technology, or all of them or whatever, just again to build the other side of the Stargate that they turn on, and then they're now here. They've invaded us. They're now we've assimilated into that collective mind once we turn on our advanced super AI and stuff. And we've just assumed that some other human is the one that created it, you know? But I don't know, maybe that we're just too early in the process, and then eventually the octopus will overtake us. Or what if we just like get fried somehow, or Atlanta style, we destroy ourselves and the octopus keeps evolving and they're the ones that pick up our technology instead. Like I always think, what would happen if like we get destroyed? So it went from like dinosaurs. What if there was like advanced? What if dinosaurs are a little more advanced than we thought? And then we kind of pick up the pieces like humanity and stuff. And what if 1,000,000 years from now? I used to always think, what if it's like bugs or something and some kind of mantis, and that's where like mantis races come from and that kind of stuff. But an octopus is probably even more likely, especially if they have the cover of the oceans. I don't know, I'm really rambling, but there's a lot of maybe juice in the pile tonight. I'm loving
You're
it.
good. You're right. There's no rambling here. There's no rambling here.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good, Ben. You're good. No, I think that's weird. That's why this is also strange, because it does kind of strike at the heart of what we are, where we came from, right? In terms of, like, you can say the cephalopod, they've had scientists really say that this is alien DNA as far as the Earth is concerned. And so it kind of makes you wonder about us, and again, our place in the universe and all the rest of this. It's amazing stuff. And it's okay, right? It's okay to, like, kind of just go way deeper than anybody out there and just consider this. I don't know where you found this article, because I thought this guy was, like, super popular or something. It says he has, like, 150.
No, I'm not sure. This was posted in the Secret Sun Facebook group. Okay. One of the people posted. So I'm not sure where they got it from. They probably know the guy. I would assume.
Yeah. Pretty wild anyway. To kind
cool stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's the loose association stuff. It's from one to the next to the next to the next, right? But clearly we do that stuff all the time. But man, this is wild. We're talking about the Space Octopus from the future.
I know. I mean, as far as there was anybody who watched Marvel's What If. This is not really a spoiler, but the last 2 episodes was about what if Ultron dominated the universe. We talked about this before, but it just keeps kind of becoming more advanced and taking out more tiers of society, and essentially just becomes the mind of the universe. And it's just what if even more simply, what if you get some kind of advanced sentient cephalopod type race that just invents time travel, and they've just decided to interact with us in that capacity. That earlier in our evolution, there was a time where there was an advanced race of these chimp people that would dominate the planet. I wonder what would happen to our trajectory if we interfered with them. What if we found out that there was some type of advanced lizard race? We create time travel, and we go back to when there was King Cooper and the reptilian royalty running the planet. I'm sure we would. I'm not sure. That's some crazy stuff I'm talking about. So I'll go. But wild stuff, Mike. Really, really, really cool stuff.
Thanks for sharing it. Always good stuff. Happy belated birthday to you, my friend.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks for being you, and amazing stuff as always. Ash had to take real quick. I don't know if he want to talk to you. Do you have to go?
I don't have to go. No.
Okay.
I was just really rambling. So.
No, you're good.
Okay.
You're good. Hang on for 1 sec. Ash said he had to take here. What's up, Ash?
Okay.
What's up? Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, brother.
I was just vibing off what you were saying. It was pretty interesting. It's, what? It gets you get done and you're like, man, do I sound crazy? But
I know.
What is crazy? We don't know. And there's that feeling, that God feeling, where we're all kind of connected. I know a lot of in religions, in the woo circles, kind of the new age kind of stuff. There's this idea that we're all connected. We're all kind of one entity. Anyway, right? And a lot of people near-death experiences, they go and they talk to God and this entity, and but how does that all work? We don't know, right? There's something there. It works, and we just don't understand it. Period. That's all. You know what I mean? Anything in between is magic, but it is reality. It has rules. There's a system there, and so for us to all be of this thing, this entity. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. If something's had the potential to spread quickly throughout the galaxy and the universe, it's already done so, and we are within that framework, that entity already, and maybe that explains that consciousness, that connection between us all. And dude, there's definitely entities trying to push humanity in different directions. That's
for sure.
I mean, and once you dig in it, you start to see the evidence, and it's well, is there an entity beyond that, the Cthulhu, that's trying to, and it's is it just dropping all these different consciousnesses all over the galaxy, integrating with them, and becoming this omnipotent God creature, constantly evolving, getting more powerful and more efficient, and all this kind of stuff? It's wild. And you mentioned the arms of the galaxy. It's wild. It's if there's life throughout the whole galaxy, then your atoms have a ton of space between them, the protons and the electrons, and we consider that a thing. So if you have a solar system and there's life all over it, can't you still consider that a thing as well? It's kind of like the same thing, right? So except now there's kind of this living biome across of it. So if you extrapolate, you know, if it's on all the galaxies, it's you know what I mean? Like it's a wild thought, and maybe different galaxies are different octopus entities. Maybe they're different biomes, or who knows, man. But
exactly. I mean, even like the fractal, like you see like pictures on Facebook and stuff showing like how the universe is like the neurons firing, or how like different galaxies look like eyes or like fingerprints and stuff. And like as an illustration that as above so below is kind of all fractally connected. But what if it's not like a human eye? And what if it's an octopus instead? If these galaxies, there's a lot more nebulas and like weird space clouds that look like octopuses than there are that look like humans. You know. So what if the shape of consciousness is actually an octopus? You know.
You know what? I heard this thing where it's like scientists were getting frustrated because like I don't know exactly the context. I don't know, but everything just kept evolving into crabs. That was like a thing. It's like if you look at all these evolutions, I think it's like all the evolution paths of all these different creatures. You go back, it's like the freaking crab, and it's like in these different areas, things just kept turning into crabs. So I think it's funny. It's like maybe in a vacuum of space with the torus pattern. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that whole thing, the torus pattern. Gravity. It's like when things get pulled into itself, it also flows.
Torsion. Okay, torsion. Yeah,
through the center and then out and then back in, and it's like this pattern. And if you look at it every level of reality, at the microscopic, at the universe level, you know, at your sync, it's all it's just this field, super common. And you could like I could see the octopus in it though. Like,
definitely.
Definitely. You're tripping me out, making me go nuts.
That's what we're here for.
Oh, yeah.
Where we're going, we don't need where else.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. 100%. Anything else for us, Derek? You're the best, brother.
No, that's it. But I really awesome stuff, you guys. Fun show.
Thanks for inspiring it. You're the best, man. Catch you later.
Later.
Have a great one. There you go. Derek in Massachusetts. Appreciate that very much. Thanks for popping in and chiming in, Ash, as well. Good stuff. So we're still talking about this, guys. If you want to be part of the show, discussing this whole what is this? It's a Panspermia, right? It's the cephalopods. It's these bizarre octopi that are doing whatever it is they're doing. I don't know. There's some strangeness to this. Is there some maybe entity that's pulling the galactic strings? Maybe not just through the galaxy, but through the universe. I don't know. I think the question is still valid and open, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll get to the Trickster Spirits and some more Archons in a little bit here to maybe tie this whole thing together. But you tell me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Speaking of great thoughts and amazing stuff, let's go to Kelly. Kelly in Colorado. What's up, my man? Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Good evening. How you doing?
A-okay. I thought it'd be hard to kind of outdo some of the weirdness we've had this week, but why not? Let's just outdo it all and talk about Cthulhu and Panspermia. What do you think, my friend?
Oh man, this is crazy. My idea would probably be like Prometheus. You know, you seen that movie?
I haven't, no.
You never seen Prometheus? It was like a prequel to Aliens.
Nope.
You know what it was? Aliens, the movie Aliens, right back in the 70s with Sigourney Weaver. Well, what made those creatures was these other, they're like scientists. I don't know how to spoil it for you, but like
you're speaking out again. We can kind of not hear you. It's like robotic or something. You're come through weird.
Hello?
Test 1 2. Are you there,
Michael? What about now?
Better, much better. All right, go right ahead. Prometheus.
Like I was saying, you know, Prometheus, right? There were these scientists, and they had all different type of creatures in these jars, and they would let them out, you know what I mean, and through the micro level. But the one, when they would come to this planet, like the one in the movie, beginning of the movie, one of them would have to sacrifice himself. He would drink this elixir, and then his whole body, all the way down, like I said, to the molecular level, like spread out through the waters of the planet, which gave everything life. So that's what kind of reminds me of this, what we're talking about now. But there's another, speaking of like the octopus one, you know, and that was a good take on like the universes out there, or the galaxies that have arms, you know, they're like an octopus. But there's another movie from in Hollywood, because we all know like Hollywood kind of gives us a little tidbits of what they know, you know, some of these directors and stuff. But there's one that's called Arrival. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I think I've seen that
one. They're like octopus, you know, type things, you know, behind a glass in some kind of liquid. But for me, I think that would be actually, if you had a scientist group like that and you're spreading life around like the movie Prometheus, you know, you that would be more or less deep space travel. So you would have, you know, a creature that would be doing that. An octopus would be perfect, I think. Something like an octopus or an octopi type creature, right? Because number one, you can just put it in the water, kind of like you know, some of the waters, like in other movies, like the movie Abyss, where the Navy SEALs had that, they were breathing that pink fluid, and they had more oxygen in it.
Yep, I remember that.
So if you had a creature that could, you know, be, if you know, suspended in some kind of a liquid like that, no bones, you don't have to worry about, you know, the shape of the bones, so you might as well just get rid of the bones, right? You just have like a it's all muscle and tissue, like an octopus. And then, you know, send them out into deep space. They're highly intelligent creatures. Oh yeah, those creatures are very intelligent. But if you send those ones out into deep space, that would be prime, I would say, because, you know, again, you know, the body type of the creature would be perfect for space. And you know, and actually, space has a lot of there's a lot of water in space. You know, because, you know, you have like the stars. You know, stars are just hydrogen, right? They're just pure hydrogen. And there was actually that physicist Harmin. He was talking about, there's that one video where it looks like he was talking, actually in that video he talks about space, or like Earth-sized craft that go inside the, or using the sun as a jump gate. But he was saying that the Soho, you know, the Soho satellite, you know, they test all kinds of stuff, and what the, you know, some of the stuff that's coming off the Earth or off the sun is water, because it's hydrogen. And it's pretty interesting because you use, you know, there's a lot of watery planets and everything. We're not the only ones, of course. You know, they're actually detecting a lot of that stuff now. But again, if you have, you know, if you have a creature like that, I'd say yeah, to be perfect, a perfect one to go around spreading the seed in deep space is what it is. Because even though you can like jump through space, you know, in time, and, you know, get to another galaxy, or, you know, pretty fast, there's a lot of planets there, man. And if you're seeding, you know, galaxies, that's going to take quite some time, whether you can jump gate or not.
Exactly. And I think that's sort of what I was saying earlier as well, that it seems like that life is going to be had, you know, not on a place like Mars where it's dry and barren, they tell us. Well, now they say there's underground water and all the rest of this, and frozen water in the poles and all that. But anyway, you would expect like this Panspermia thing to hit these ocean worlds again, like Enceladus or Titan, you know, moons, things like this, planets like Earth with tons of water, and it would be the perfect thing, because it can, right? It can survive like the cephalopod can survive the tons of pressure, right? They can hide. They got the ink thing. They can, you know, the whole bit of camouflage, like we were talking about last night. Isn't that pretty wild that you brought that up last night? The camouflage in the octopus, how you snap your fingers and they can just change color to match the background. I mean, that tells you a whole lot about that species right then and there. It's a survivor, and it's without bones, but it's also very tough, strong, and smart. And then they're bringing up in the chat, it has a beak. Like that, like, it's terrifying. I mean, the thing is, it's definitely a survivor, but if you're going to be seeding things on the planet, surely it would be something like that and not like a goldfish, right? I mean,
Yeah, because, you know, again, like you're saying, you know, it does have a beak, so that thing, it's a weird creature, too. Like, just the blood, everything about it, too, you know. They showed one, you know, I've seen, I don't know, a lot of people are talking about it. You had, you know, they put one in a jar, you know, it found out that, you know, to escape, it could just unscrew the lid from the inside, you know. They're very intelligent, so if they just, you know, they can just sit there and watch people, you know, from, you know, in a tank or something and know how to. They crawl out of tanks all the time. Like, I had a buddy that had one, and he always said he lost that shit, and it was on the carpet. One time it was all... But, yeah, those things are crazy, because another one would be, like, you know, they could squeeze the whole body. I seen one where it was huge. You know, it fell out of the, you know, onto the boat, right? And it just slid through the little hole on the side, right? Yeah, I mean, for me, that would be one hell of a creature to use, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, and they can handle the deep pressures, you know, deep space. You know, they're in the deepest parts of the ocean where it's dark. You know, they can light it up with their own blood. Yeah, but shit, man, those things are all over the place. Yeah, there's even, you know, I've seen a lot of science who talk about this. Like you know, you guys were talking, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what the weird thing is too. So this is where it gets bizarre. This is why when you take what we know about, they say that it may have come from this panspermia effect. Okay, these cephalopods, the octopus on Earth. But if that's the case, once again, we're talking, you know, 200 million years ago, this possibly happened. Where did that DNA come from? If it's an aquatic species, right? It's not like putting its DNA on rocks and shooting them into space. It's an aquatic species, right? So what's doing it? Like, that's the weirdness here, because rocks don't just fly out of the ocean with octopi on them and fly out into space. You know what I mean? So what is that process? What's actually happening here? That's the weirdness. Like, if you trace it back a billion years, where did this come from? That's the craziest part, right?
Yeah, you'd have to go down to, like, a lot of pantheons about, you know, they're talking about water gods, you know, like the Greek gods, they use from the ocean and stuff. I can't remember the name right now. But,
Poseidon.
And then you have Poseidon, right? And there's other ones too, even, you know, Sumerian, the Sumerian ones. They had, like, Enki. He was, for example, besides he was the, like, Lord of the Earth, but he was also the, what do they call him? I think Lord of Waters too. And there's a lot of his carvings on him. It shows, like, water and fish. You know, he's standing there, but it's like water, like a waterfall or something. And there's, like, fish, and, you know, sometimes there's fish, sometimes there's not. But it looks like water where he's coming, either jumping out of the water or something like that. But it's interesting too, if you, like we were talking, most of the time we were talking about, you know, because there's underwater UFOs as well. And if if these creatures were here or something like that, or maybe that they were sending out spies or to check stuff out, you know what I mean? But, or even like a sign, you know, just be like, you know, anything that you do, like a sign, right? But
you're cutting out again. I'm not sure what's going on, but you're cutting out again, my man.
Sorry about that. What about that?
Better.
Okay. Just, you know, you could use that, you could use that creature, send it out anywhere, you know, like, especially here in the water. But again, for me, I don't know, man. I've always think of water as not only life, you know, life-giving and everything, but you could use it, even space, you could use water. They say it freezes, but you could still hold it in a different temperature within a ship or something. But yeah, waters can be used instead of, you know, I won't go down that one. That's a whole different one.
That's all right. That's why we're here, man. Rabbit holes and rabbit holes. And I think that once again, the whole, you know, truth is stranger than fiction sort of thing, because it is, just like I was saying just previous there. Where did it come from? I mean, it seems absurd. It almost seems like we're describing, it's kind of like the perfect entity to just seed all over the universe, because they can, once they find these water-like planets, these water worlds, They just get in there and they just live. But to what purpose? To what end? Right? Something created that at some point, whether it was like the first original, galactic evolution or whatever the hell it was. But then again, like I said, they don't jump out of the ocean and send rocks into space. So what did? Something did at some point, right? And I think that's the bizarre part here. And so not only that, though, they say that it has stopped traditional. The cephalopod has stopped traditional evolution. Because it can change its RNA in a flash as it needs it. And that's the weirdness of this, is because it has stayed stable for a very, very long time in its genetic code. And that tells you a lot about what this thing may be. Maybe it's in its like pinnacle of evolved form for what it needs to be. And so that means what? I mean, that thing, they're super intelligent, like we said. It's got all those bizarre traits, the beak, and it has no bones, and it can, like you said, slip through these tiny holes. They climb out of their tanks. I mean, there's a lot of weird shit here. And, well, I don't know. I don't know, man. I have no idea.
There was one time I even ran across, I don't know if it was an octopus or if it was like a squid type creature. Because they're kind of similar, but I ran across where they were saying that, I believe it was an octopus, I believe. I don't know, man. It could be either one, but either way, they could. There's one that's it's eternal. So what it does is like it even shrinks itself, or like it gives rebirth to itself, right? And like it goes down to it shrinks down to a small, like a baby octopus, and then it's weird. It never dies. It can just like recycle it. And if they have capability to do some shit like that, again, man, that is a weird. That is one of the worst, strangest creatures that are water, between water and land here and the sky and the planet. Even in fossil records, we had, the only thing you really have is stories from like sailors and stuff, of giant octopus. But you don't have a skeleton. There's nothing that you can find within that. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's like pressed between some sand or silt or something. But even then, it's got to have some kind of bones, or maybe you just have an outline. But yeah, those things, they're pretty dangerous, man. They're smart. I mean, who knows? Maybe they are the aliens as well.
Yeah, that would be the thing, right? What if it is the alien species that maybe genetically modified these things to kind of fit whatever world they landed in? That's the bizarre part, right? Because think about that. If they can change their RNA in a flash to what they need, that means the evolution part is cut out of their basic process, right? Their basic, from one generation to the next, they stay relatively stable. And so maybe that is the pinnacle of what a Darwinian evolution becomes, something like that, where you don't need the mutation anymore, the random mutation. You just snap your fingers and change into whatever you need to change into. And that becomes super weird now, because we're talking about this entity, the cephalopod, that's kind of squishy and can take on the form of whatever, right? It probably, if it wanted to be in the shape of a bucket, it could be in the shape of a bucket, right? Or a broom handle, or, it could probably make itself be whatever it needs to be. And that's the scary part here. We're kind of talking about like a shapeshifter, right?
Yeah. I mean, there was one that was, I'm pretty sure you might have seen it, down by a drilling rig, and it was it was like an octopus or squid type thing, but it was pitch black, and it was like, again, it was the colors in it from the blood, and this thing looked like it was turning inside and out, man. I've never seen anything like that shit. That was like, and then it turned like I said, it like turned inside out and then it shot off like it was like an octopus. Fucking, have you seen that? No, I haven't seen that. That's wild. Check that out. It's like, because there's a lot of the drilling rigs. There was another one that looks like it's the same type of stuff. It's the same type creature. The cephalopod. The skin. There were really no bones or nothing, but it looked like a big sheet. I don't know if you've seen this one. It looks like a big. It just looks like a kind of a see-through brown kind of see through like a sheet, that's just floating in the water. And next thing you know, that thing too was huge. Whatever the fuck that was, it was huge. And it was kind of, it flipped around and it was like turned himself. It almost looked like an octopus or a squid type thing. Yeah, if I don't know, I know some people out there listening may have seen those videos, but if I were you, bro, I'd check them out. They're pretty crazy, man.
All right, for sure. If you got a link to that, I'd love to see it. I can dig it out. If not, good stuff. We got Rohan here. We can get him in. So as always, up to you. You're welcome to stay. Complete your call, my friend. You let me know.
I'll just kick it out on mute.
Okay. All right. Chime in whenever, man. You know you're welcome to be here. All right. That's Kelly in Colorado. Great stuff as always. Appreciate it, my friend. He's going to hang out and lurk in the background. Let's go to the mighty Rohan. What's up, Rohan? The famous Liam Martin. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, how you doing? You all right? Yeah, not bad.
Doing good, man. Doing good. Feeling good. What do you think? Are we off the rails here tonight?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? But it's like I say, it is octopi and I would say octopi and funguses are the prime candidates for extraterrestrials, aren't they? Because they're the two organisms that just really don't fit, do they? They don't fit with anything else, as you mentioned. So, but I know with fungi, they've got spores, haven't they? They can permeate up the atmosphere and hitch a ride on an asteroid. I mean, I don't know how that works with an octopi, but like I say, maybe some X can survive or something. But some things that did pop into my mind for me, it reminded me of that. Kelly was just saying about there's an octopus that can sort of like rejuvenate itself. I don't know about that, but I know there's the immortal jellyfish. It doesn't naturally die, does it? So some of this marine life, it can do the miraculous stuff. The immortal jellyfish just goes back to its juvenile state. So it's like going back to its stem cells, and then it just starts over. Do you know what I mean? I'd say if you can instantly change your RNA to sort of do things, it's almost like they've already locked down all that Wim Hof breathing stuff, and we're saying, maybe some of that can get us down into controlling beyond our autonomic functions and get right into our genes. Well, they've sort of already got it, haven't they? So then it takes me to that film. There's a film with Ryan Reynolds called Life, where they go to the International Space Station and they find something from Mars that looks like it might be life, and they're checking it out, and it's a bit like an octopus, but instead of sort of having a brain in each arm, the whole tissue is brain, but it's also muscle as well, and it's also the sort of organ tissue. Do you know what I mean? So and that gets really out of hand because it sort of rapidly develops. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Sherry here says, interestingly, on Rockfin, what's up, says, no one listens to me. Well, some people listen to you. Sherry says this: things are brought here. We are a laboratory.
I think she's onto something. The Gnostics used to said that, that was one of the base premises of what where you've got the Archons. I suppose the sort of counter of that is the Aeons. That was who did the experiment sort of thing. And then they said the same thing that you mentioned earlier about this, according to the, I think Ash mentioned it about the remote viewers, and according to the Gnostic stuff, that's what they do. These Aeons, they don't have a corporeal form, and they live for ridiculous amounts of time, and they're really super smart. So they invented the human genome. It was one particular Aeon, because that's what they do. They do experiments. They do biological experiments in the galaxy and just wait and see what happens, for fun. That's what the Gnostics said. And we've come as a result of her having the idea of making the human genome. And the human genome is thought to be quite an efficient thing, so it could have more capabilities or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think all of that's too far off the money.
Yeah, I mean, it all came from somewhere, right? We're told that we're the primordial soup, and we're lucky mud, right? I mean, that's what we're told. It seems unlikely, doesn't it? It seems that maybe that this actually came from somewhere else.
Well, this octopi thing, it looks like if that's not fitting, like you mentioned, the Charles Darwin's theory of evolution and stuff, and that says it's still a theory, and he admitted it towards the end it was sort of incomplete, and the thing is, that all of that stuff, like say if the octopi doesn't fit it, then it's not really working, is it? And it definitely don't work for us. I don't know if people realize this, but the human neocortex blows it all out of the water. Do you know what I'm saying? It's too, do you know what I'm saying? The human neocortex is a huge mystery. In all of the fossil record, there's been no major organ in a higher animal reorganized itself more miraculously than human neocortex. So it's all blown out of the water anyway with that. The very organ that generates it is its biggest critic, sort of thing. So it's an incomplete theory, but like you say, it helps lock you into this idea that it's going to take ages to this, to advance to this. And I think that's all part of dumbing us down, you know. And then, but then the sort of the way that we deal with science socially, because it's all to do with grants and tenure and reputations. And like I say, we do stupid science. Do you know what I mean?
Ah, stupid science. Trust the science. What's wrong with you, man? Come on, man.
It's not the science that's the problem. It's lying motherfuckers and people omitting the data.
Exactly.
You know, that's my issue.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
I am the science. Bullshit. Get out of here. Tony the Damned says primordial soup is my favorite soup. Well, there it is. Now we know. Let me know how that tastes. It sounds delicious. Yeah, I mean, so what do you think then? If this stuff, like Sherry said, we are the laboratory here. If this stuff came from somewhere, who's sending it here? Like, again, we're talking about the Cambrian explosion 200 million years ago, approximately. This explosion of life on Earth, but they say it didn't seem to be a natural evolutionary process. It seemed like it was brought here from somewhere else because it all happened in like snap your fingers fast, right? In evolutionary scales. But that's why they consider that these entities, whatever happened, these cephalopods and the rest of this came from space through this panspermia effect. And, you know, like Jennifer was saying previously when she called in, we're a water planet because it came from space. The water came from space. You don't, you don't get a bunch of dust together and form a ball of dirt and then suddenly it has water. The water came from space. And so that's the craziest part here is, well, are there maybe pockets of water in space kind of floating around? And who sent that stuff here? Back to the Cambrian explosion and all that. What the hell, man? You think there's an alien race out there tinkering with shit?
Well, on the Cambrian explosion, that came in that ties in with environmental changes. See, the planet at that time had a runaway ice cap, and it just became a whole snowball. So what that did was it took away all predators, and then some of the ice is frozen quite clear. So you've got these pockets of light that's getting through, like really, miles of ice, sort of thing. So that means there's no predators, so things get a chance to really evolve. Nature gets a chance to do its thing. So I'm wondering if we'll deal with the water and space in a minute, but I'm wondering if because nature can do a lot, and a lot of the time science likes to fob things up and say, well, nature can do anything. Right, well, if that's true, then nature, with those environmental circumstances where most things have been wiped out, is a runaway, the whole planet's a snowball. It's locked in ice. And if it weren't for volcanic activity, it would have stayed locked in ice, right? Yeah, because once your ice caps start freezing so much, then it's reflecting more sunlight, and then it just gets run away, and then everything freezes. Okay, so but with all this life wiped away, then whatever life is there gets to thrive. It's got no predators. So maybe nature can kind of like try something new and make something that's essentially alien. Do you know what I mean? It's not tried it before, sort of thing, as a way to adapt to the fact that it's had a bit of a start over. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe there's a bit of that in there as well, right?
Nice. Yeah, well, I mean, nature has a way, doesn't it? And we still don't understand the way a lot of that stuff works, which is pretty fantastic. Even though, right, like back to what Ash was saying, all the science, but we kind of don't know shit. For all the things we do know, there's still, like an avalanche of things we haven't even begun to scratch the surface of. Yeah, good shit for sure. Now, what about the water in space?
Well, the water in space, yeah, I read into that. I couldn't believe it. I posted this a few times. That it's like trillions and trillions of gallons of water being produced in space. That is where it comes from. It comes from stars. I don't think it's every type of star. It might be, but I know a lot of this is stuff that's coming from stars. Believe it or not, and it seems counterintuitive when we've all sort of got the mindset that the star's basically like a big fireball, because it makes you warm, doesn't it? Like a fire, like a campfire, you know. So you kind of have this idea, but no, stars produce loads and loads of water. So there's loads of water in space. And you think, well, yeah, space is cold as well, and everything's got ice on. There's ice everywhere. So it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? You know, and like I say, in its structurally shaped, geometric shapes, a sphere is the strongest shape. You know, a unity of a circle, we're strong together, right? Well, that's a strong shape, a sphere. Okay, so like as Jennifer mentioned, water will tend to, it should, in a weightless environment, want to gather together in a ball. So you're going to have clusters of then, do you know what I'm saying? You're going to have clusters of water bobbing around, aren't you? You know, like you've got the Lagrange point, like a neutral zone for the gravity in between the moon and the Earth, where, you know, you stick your satellites so they're not like being affected. You can just sit there, can't it? Do you know what I mean? So you're going to get clusters of water out in space, aren't you? So you're going to get water in space. Always telling us, oh, water's so essential for life. At least the life we've seen. So, yeah, it's probably going to be, you know, water in space, things, asteroids passing through with, you know, spores on it, this, that, and the other. You know, it's probably part of the mechanism. So there's a sort of natural version of space travel for life to sort of spread around.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is a little bit strange, a little bit weird that it's got to come from somewhere. I think that's the bizarre part here is wherever this DNA is coming from. Like, again, you know, think about it in our terms, right? We're not creating rockets and, you know, putting DNA on them and just sending them out into the wherever, right? Like, so how does it happen? Is it a natural process? I think that's the weird part. Like I was saying, it almost seems like an alien is maybe doing this out there somewhere, right?
Yeah. Or is it that, you ever thought about this? Is it that, do you need dry land situations to be able to sort of leave the planet and make technology? Because making electronics underwater is a no-go, right? But that's not to say there ain't other stuff. Do you know what I mean? So I wonder because if water seems essential for life, and there's loads of water out in space, yeah, I don't know, and there's like oceans and stuff, maybe things start from oceans, right? So if things start from oceans, maybe some things haven't got much land, so you kind of have to, the evolution has to kind of start, you know. So then maybe have you got underwater, like you say, have you got aquatic alien creatures that are as smart as us or more? Do you know what I'm saying? And can they get off the planet? Do you get spaceships that's like full of water? Because you've got these aquatic beings in there. Do you know what I'm saying? I know it's been explored in sci-fi and it's kind of hard to show it, but I wonder, is that the case? Because we get that film The Arrival where these people are coming in this incredibly gaseous, toxic environment, and they're like these really tall things with a bunch of legs that are almost like fingers. Do you know what I'm saying? And like tentacles coming out with all hands on. And it's like they talk like that. So it's sort of a bit, do you know what I mean? It's strange to think about, because like I say, something truly alien is going to work in really weird ways. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Hell yeah. Which is off the rails drinking maybe juice, man. It seems like you could definitely get a ticket for too much to think if that's the case. Too much here. So definitely good stuff. Kelly, you got anything for Rohan here with the stuff he's talking about?
Pretty bone. Same thing we were talking about. You know, everybody was been mentioning, but yeah, it's just truth. The stars, like I said, that's where they're
cut down again.
There's a lot of water. Steve, I don't know, but there's a lot of water in space. Probably kind of like deep water. You know, like where it's a lot of pressure and stuff like that. But interesting, man.
Yeah.
To see. You know, something like that could be a possibility, and I wouldn't put it past anything, because, you know, again, we don't really know much about deep space anyway.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Good stuff, guys. So we're at the time. We're at the time. I think it is bizarre that the spiral galaxies have arms, you know, and so the supermassive black hole is sort of creating what you might expect to be an octopus in galactic terms, right?
Yeah, and they're stretching out faster than the rotation. That's why they spread out instead of wrapping around, isn't it?
Yep. Pretty odd. Pretty odd. Like I wonder if that's a coincidence.
Maybe that's the planet eater that's roaming around that's eating all the planets.
Galactus, right? Galactus from the Marvel Comics, the Planet Eater. Hell yeah, man. Who knows? Who knows? Super good stuff. You guys are the best. Let's wrap this up. What are your final thoughts here, Kelly?
For tonight's show, I would say that, as we're talking about how special that creature is, being, different. We also see what type of shapes and what it can do. It could take just like pouring it into a glass. It's just like
Cutting out again. I don't know if it's your internet or you're not close to the microphone. I'm not sure, but
sorry about that. How about just say, have a good night.
All right. All good. Appreciate it, Kelly. Kelly in Colorado, old friend of the show. Appreciate it. Great stuff as always. Yeah, cutting in and out. I'm not sure what's going on. All right, Rohan.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah. Always.
I say there's something going on with these octopi. I seen a little video of like animals that had been helped by people and sort of had been like grateful kind of thing. But this, I seen with the octopus, someone found one on a beach washed up and the tide had gone out, so he gathered it up, put it in a box, bucket, looked after it for a bit, fed it and that, gave it some water, took it back next day, and it said it went to go off in the ocean, and then it came back and like put its tentacle up its foot and like touched his ankle before it left, as if it was sort of saying thanks. And I thought, that's kind of interesting.
That's creepy. It's like, high five, brother. Yeah. Good looking out.
Yeah, nice one. Take care of yourself, man. Thanks for that.
Exactly. Off to the ocean I go.
Little do we know, he's a vanguard for some ancient alien AI that's hiding in some parallel dimension, spying on us.
Exactly. And like Lacey said when she called in a while ago, be nice to your electronics. Maybe the octopi are the electronics we should be nice to. Tuned into the Archons. Shit.
Big revolution.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, pretty wild. It is, and you can find exactly examples of that. These super intelligent octopi all over the damn place. Like these stories just keep coming. You could look it up over and over how just super intelligent they are. Kind of makes you wonder if they could like send you a text message if you handed them like a an octopi telephone sort of thing.
Yeah. Maybe they're talking to the dolphins with the cymatic 3D messages that they send out.
Never know.
That's why I grabbed the fish, isn't it? So it can pass a message on.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's what's actually happening here. Yeah, pretty wild stuff.
Hustliness.
Exactly. Wild. I don't know. We got the TV trope, the octopoid aliens, and again, the spiral galaxy with the arms. It seems like, again, back to Lovecraftian old ones and Cthulhu, maybe it is Sagittarius A. Maybe that supermassive black hole is exactly what's happening with with this galactic evolution. We've talked about this before with maybe the gray aliens and the biomechanicalness and whatever. But if we're talking about panspermia, that's completely different. And it seems like maybe this could be related. Maybe the fact that the galaxy is shaped sort of like an octopus is not an accident. And that's the bizarre stuff to me. We got some synchronicities here, some coincidences, right? And you know what Albert Einstein said about coincidence? I've dropped this a couple times in the last week. But he said that coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. And there you go. Yes, sir. What else you got? Final thought here. Let's wrap this up. And Daryl, if you're there too.
Final thought for me is you can look this one up, folks. It's one of those allegedly things, but yeah, Lake Vostok. And if you remember Antarctica, it was alleged the Russians found an octopus, didn't they, with 14 arms, 14 tentacles. They called it organism species 46B, according to Dr. Anton Padalka, who defected to Switzerland. Said that they found an octopus that pretended to be a diver after it killed one of them, and it changed its body to look like a diver swimming towards them. And he apparently, don't know if it's true, but apparently that could shoot out ink like a squid, except it could paralyze you in the water from like about 100 feet. So if that's true, that's shit, isn't it? But they say they found it in a cave, been locked in there for about 15 million years to evolve on its own as the super predator. So there's always that.
There's always that. You never know. There's always that. I'll have to look into that as well. I'm not familiar with that story. Definitely maybe juice. Everybody, Rohan's got a podcast. Please give him a follow. His name is Liam Martin, the famous Liam Martin, and it is the mighty Rohan. He's got a podcast called Exiled Minds. You can find it. Link in the description down below. Go check out Rohan's podcast. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. I appreciate all the hot takes, my friend. Thank you for all the audio work. The audio stuff you hear on this show is also done by the mighty Rohan as well. So as you hear that second hour come in, it's in that weird audio mashup. That's all Rohan. So thank you again for all that great work you're doing, man. Appreciate that very much.
Awesome. Cool. Oh yeah, by the way, everyone, if you check out my podcast, that's in my very first episode, that story. That's the little gold bit at the end, Antarctica.
Nice. All right, cool. There it is. It's in the podcast. Daryl, what's up? Let's wrap this up. What's your final thought here?
I don't know. I'm having a lot of guilt about dining on these wonderful creatures, you know? If they're sentient, and I believe they probably are, you know? Well, I don't know.
All right. Well, Cthulhu's taking notes on you. So hopefully it ain't like that. I appreciate it, Daryl. All right, let's do it. You guys know the drill. It goes a little something like this. Let's play the music. Let's click it so you guys can hear. I'm gonna. Could you please mute up, Daryl? You're chirping back through some of the sounds coming through.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. And it goes a little something like this. So press it so you guys can hear the music as we go. Well, it's the end of the week for Troubled Minds because we do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We are going to do some Friday shows coming up, so I'm not sure exactly how that's going to look. I'll see what the schedule is, and I'll work one in or two, and we'll see. And if we can kind of do that and just make it a thing, we'll make it a thing. But if you like the show and you appreciate the conversations, again, you know, pretty much nothing's off limits here. We're going to the edges of the universe here to try and seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no one has gone before. I've heard that before. Where have I heard that before? I swear I just made that up. No, but how deep can it go? There's a way to talk about, right?
Sure.
Right. There's a way to talk about the universe that doesn't include politicizing it. And well, here we are. Troubled Minds. If you like the show, spread the word. Let people know there's a conversation happening that has no boundaries. And we're all over the place and drinking the maybe juice and off the rails. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us. Thanks again to the Night Stalker for inspiring the show tonight. You can't go wrong with Lovecraftian old ones. And happy birthday to Derek. And everybody else out there, thank you so much for participating. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for all the amazing and thoughtful chat. Thanks for listening to us on the podcast feed. Thanks for spreading the word. If you want to help with the show, Patreon, Rockfin, Twitch. Those are 3 ways to sub up with cash money. If you don't want to do cash money, that's completely fine. It's completely optional. Just listen to the Troubled Minds podcast. We've got some ads baked in, kicks us some sense here and there, and it's a good thing. So I appreciate that very much. That's growing like crazy. Everything's growing like crazy. It's at the moment this show is sort of going off the rails all by itself. And that's because of us. That's because of you. It's because of me. It's because of all of us. Like I said, I'm me, you're you, but together we're us, and it makes a beautiful thing. So thank you again to everybody out there, all the amazing calls, all the amazing chat, all the amazing people who supported the show and just encouraged it with love and encouragement and all those things. It's like I said, that energy. It's hard to ignore it. It's makes it exciting to do this every single night. So thank you, guys, every one of you for all of that. Thank you. Promise you, I'm not running for office, but thank you anyway. I'll say thank you again. All right, so we're done for the week. As we finish, we have more Troubled Minds tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific, the Troubled Minds news show. You can find that on Twitch. Otherwise, we'll be back with more Troubled Minds on Monday. I'll let you know how it looks with the Friday shows. I'll get you guys updated on that, and we'll figure something out. Thanks again. As we finish, you know how this ends. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. And there you go. Now it's time. It's time for your falsetto, Daryl. Thanks, guys. Have a great night. From our Troubled Minds to yours. Have a great night.
Oh, well, well, well.